Hey, what's up guys? UrAvgWarGamer is back with a tier list of tier 10 battleships that are going to be till the update 14.8. I thought I should make a tier list. A lot of players do want to know what ships are currently really powerful at tier 10 for battleship class. So here it is, a very interesting tier list where I will explain the strengths and weaknesses and my thoughts and opinions, and according to my playstyle and my experience, how do I felt about each particular battleship at tier 10. So if you might compare it with any YouTuber or streamer, well, you can do that, but they might have different thoughts or rating of a specific tier 10 ship compared to what I will rate here. So that is something as a disclaimer to all of you guys. So if you do find this video very helpful, valuable, and if you are a newer player, definitely like, share, and subscribe so that I can make more of these tier lists for you guys so that you can understand the current meta of battleships in World of Warships. By the way, if you want to know how I am as a player in World of Warships, you can go and check out the WoW's numbers. Here, this is the ranked battle ratings. I have over 69 or 68% win rate in solo ranked battles. Also something like that in in the random battles. And I'm not here to brag that. I'm here to just simply say you that you should put confidence in me and my tier list because I have more than 7 years of experience in this game. And I've been playing this pretty much in sort of a good way. Carry the games, win for the team, and that's why you might see the win rate is pretty good. So that is something that you should really take in before watching this whole tier list. And let's start with our first battleship, and that is going to be the Japanese battle cruiser Bungo. Now Bungo, in my personal opinion, I would definitely gonna rate it to be very strong. Now the thing about the Bungo is, if you really only look at the armor scheme of Bungo, okay, if I can show you right now in the game. So there it is, the Bungo itself. Now the only reason why I'm rating it to be very strong, A plus tier, if I'm not wrong, is because of the guns. The guns of the Bungo, first of all, they are 457 10 guns, really good reload time, really good AP and HE DPM. HE DPM is surprisingly very good, and considering the guns having the dispersion that you can improve with the help of the high precision spotter, now that is very unique for this battleship. Okay, you do have, I think, 2.2 sigma, which is a very high value of accuracy parameter on this battleship. Now for these guns that overmatch 30mm cruisers, they can punch battleships real hard, probably having a bit of a difficulty getting citadels on battleship. But it's a cruiser's worst nightmare. And even battleships, you can pinpoint accurately with the help of high precision spotter. Improve the dispersion by -20%. It becomes kind of having that battle cruiser dispersion. It basically switches from battleship dispersion ellipse to battle cruiser dispersion overall. And then with 2.2 sigma, which I have already said, you will get precise volleys, like super accurate, that in fact that you can just pinpoint accurately hit onto the top of the superstructure of battleships. And that is something that is disgusting in Bungo. And then that reload time is really good. I haven't talked about the weaknesses, but these are the strengths, okay? And the strength is just so insane, especially if you just use HE. If you even switch to HE shells, it becomes a Conqueror, a literally British battleship Conqueror at tier 10 with very accurate, like way accurate shells, and hitting percentage of the shells if you are using the Bungo itself. Like, it is crazy. The 457mm guns, they have Conqueror levels of HE alpha. Yes, the fire chance is not that good, but considering that you hit a lot of shells, it will set tons of fires. Battleship's worst nightmare is that you have pushed into Bungo, or at least in this case, you're pushing into Bungo as an enemy ship, and the Bungo pops the spotter plane, switches to HE if you are angled, and just keep farming you with really good armor penetration capacity as well. 77 is pretty much good for everything, at least against battleships. And then cruisers, you can switch to AP and just deal massive damage. Its range is pretty good. The shells are pretty good. They have buffed the HE shell velocity It used to have slightly archier HE shells, which makes them somewhat difficult at long ranges to aim, but now they have just removed that problem. They have the same, I would say, the shell velocity as you find on AP. So they will be fast, they go and just hit them really hard. The guns are the most powerful thing of the Bungo. It's actually kind of broken in that regard, once you specially use the spotter plane, and you can even improve it with the help of spotting aircraft mod 1, so you can increase that high precision spotter time. So the biggest strength is the Bungo guns. If you want to literally buy a battleship that just precisely aim dev striking cruisers on broadside, if you know what you're doing, and really wrecking battleships for maybe 20k salvos on broadside, even you don't get citadels at long ranges, Bungo is for you. Now let's come to the weaknesses, because the weaknesses kinda not makes it broken. I mean, the only reason that Bungo is not in broken category is because of the armor. The armor is literally tier 8 armor. 32mm deck armor, side armor, this is all very vulnerable to, cruisers that have IFHE. Light cruisers can pen you. You do have a superstructure as well, so destroyers can help, farm you. You don't have access to any sort of super heal or like that, which can help you at, healing up some of your HP back from fires of flood. So that is the big problem with the Bungo. And then your armor layout is like that of battle cruiser. You have 25mm armor. If you push in the Bungo, if you push in this battleship against the enemy battleship, and if he knows that your bow is very weak, he will shoot at you, and it can even citadel from this area. So it's really bad. It's just gonna take massive damage from the citadel, and then even your broadside armor is weak. So Bungo does not like to take a lot of damage. It has to be guided. You have to play it like a cruiser, but battleship level guns. And honestly, it's super amazing for that. And just because of the armor, it kind of pulls it back. It just, I want to make it broken, but it can't be, because under focus fire, under the spotting of destroyer and the cruisers trying to farm, you don't even have the speed. Like, the speed is okay. 31.5 knots is not bad. I think I haven't used the speed flag. Oh yeah, I did use the speed flag, but 31.5 knots is good. Yes, I haven't talked about the speed. The concealment is actually pretty good. The only reason why Bungo can survive these situations is to just run away and utilize your concealment. If you are not able to do that, you are a dead guy. Like, you cannot utilize the best part of this ship, and you will die quickly because you're not able to disengage. And I can tell you, if you don't kite and push in a very slightest bit of tough spot, like even a slight miscalculation of positioning will just instantly farm you to death. That's the biggest problem of the Bungo. So you have to play it very safe, very carefully at the start of the game, and then maybe at late stages it's difficult to push, but then you can do some pushing. But it still is a very, very vulnerable battleship. It is truly a battle cruiser. Somehow the torpedo protection is pretty good at 36% for a battle cruiser, which is, I would say, nice, but the guns are the best part, okay? And just because of the guns, it's so reliable, so consistent, I have to say the Bungo will, in my personal opinion, has to be the A+ tier. Very strong, if not broken, just because of the armor and, not having those gimmicks around the survivability that, if Bungo gets, it becomes pretty much broken. Alright, so the next battleship is going to be another Japanese, which is a steel battleship. You can get it right now, and that is the Shikishima. Now, honestly, Shikishima has Satsuma guns. If you know, Satsuma is in the super ship category, and you do have the same guns, 6 of them instead of 8, at tier 10 in steel ships category. So is it worth it? The problem is Shikishima guns are really good. You don't get that, F-key dispersion that just insanely gives you like the most ridiculous grouping for these guns that you find on Satsuma. Yes, you don't have it, but you do have slightly improved dispersion compared to Yamato. Just like slightly. You do have 2.1 sigma, which is pretty decent, but I kinda find 6 guns to have a bit of a wonkier sort of dispersion overall. Like, you get 1, maybe 2 shells out of 6 into the area where you want to get that juicy citadel, and it does a lot of damage. Satsuma guns, 19.4k alpha. So Shikishima, in my opinion, is gonna be B tier. Now, only reason why is because the Satsuma exists first, right? You're just simply able to have the Shikishima experience by simply buying a super ship. It just kind of really reduces the value of Shikishima in general. And I have really explained it many times on my YouTube channel that Shikishima, because of Satsuma exists, and the cost of steel is way too high. There are a lot of other, steel ships that you should buy first, and they are unique enough that you should not look at Shikishima. So the guns are good. They do hurt, but these are Satsuma guns. You don't get anything else. Yes, you do slightly get the anti-defense, which again, it has for some reason, better anti-defense than Bungo and Yamato, which you might say that it's kinda sort of helpful against carriers. But again, I tell you one thing. I have farmed Shikishimas in my CVs, and Shikishima is still not that good. Yes, you can shoot down slightly more planes, but even then, the Shinano will still gonna make a mess of you. So I would say the B tier seems to be good. Now, just because of the hull itself, the guns and all the performance that Shikishima provides, Satsuma-like, I can easily put it into strong. But the value is not there. There are many other alternatives. And that's why I won't put it into C tier, because it does not deserve to be like super low in the rating. But Shikishima, for me, seems to be pretty good. B tier works fine. I won't say that you should buy it from the steel. It's not worth it at all, because there are many other options. Alright, so the next ship is going to be the Yamato, the historical battleship of World War II itself. And honestly, the meta is kind of like kiting. And a lot of ships benefits more in kiting, and Yamato is kind of also belong to that category, because in kiting, in sniping, just like the Shikishima and Bungo, Yamato will also gonna do really well. Like, one more thing that I really like about the Yamato, that it does have way better armor than Bungo, but again, it does have the cheek, which we will talk, but I will put it slightly lower than the Bungo. Yes, the guns are really, really good, but the Bungo accuracy is just insane. You put that spotter plane, high precision spotter, and then you just depth strike things if you know what you're doing. Like, seriously, that Bungo spotter plane is crazy good. That's why I have the biasness of the Bungo more towards Yamato. Now, Yamato has all-round good guns. Let me just go to the Yamato real quick in the game. So there it is, the Yamato. Now, the best thing about the Yamato compared to the Bungo is the survivability. The survivability is way higher in Yamato compared to the Bungo. 55% torpedo protection, I think best in the class. Something that torpedo boats hate, especially the Holland and Ostergotland, all the DDs, even the Jaeger hits Yamato. Like, it would like to get a lot of torpedo hits, but if they hit onto the armor belt, Yamato protection is like crazy good. 55% is kind of nuts. So you will be pretty good against torpedo boat destroyers, but again, any destroyer on your flank is still a death sentence to the battleship, because you will be perma-spotted. So something that Yamato actually still struggles with, because you don't have really good speed. Now, the recent releases by Wargaming, like for example, any battleship that you might look at has really good speed. Upwards of 35 knots, you can use the brisk, you can get it to 40 knots. We have seen the Willem De Eerste, Bourgogne. Bourgogne is like an older battleship, but still we have seen a lot of battleships, like for example, the Libertad line, it can go to 35 knots. Schlieffen can go 35. So I mean, the speed is definitely lacking. We need a battleship to disengage, and speed is the most important thing to run and kite under a very heavy focus fire. So Yamato, even though its armor is really good, it still has kind of weird situation going for it. Like, I will talk about the strengths. But let's go for some of the weaknesses which I don't like about the Yamato. Apart from really, really good 50mm and 57, which is really, really good armor plating, Yamato can, like, simply bowing in like this. If you put the bow like fully like this, it can be extremely tanky, because you are protecting the 32mm sides. Now, these sides are very vulnerable to HE and sap shells. HE with IFHE, like even the Harugumo with IFHE, Worcester with IFHE, or many ships like, for example, the Utrecht, they will just simply direct pen you from there. So this is the weakness. This is like the big weakness, because that's a lot of plating that is vulnerable. Cannot really make you utilize this plating that Wargaming has given to Yamato. So that is something which kind of makes Yamato a bit weaker, but it is still way better than Bungo. Way more HP, a lot of tankiness from the side armor, sorry, from the bow, not the bow, from the deck armor plating. This really makes it good, right? You can just even shatter the shells of if you are perfectly bowing in against Stalingrad, against the Hindenburg that have really good HE pen on their guns. So that's where Yamato is good. The thing about the Yamato is also that it has all round good guns. 32mm overmatch. You can basically, if the battleships are pushing you, you can just hit onto the bows, simply get full pens on them. So the guns are really good. The reload time is decent, everything is good, but there is also one more thing about the Yamato, that you can use the main battery director system that improves the main battery shell dispersion, okay? Now, it's good. Your dispersion gets better, your reload time gets slightly worse, but it's not really bad, okay? But what you do get in return is that dispersion and also a bit of a third traverse, unfortunately. The third traverse is also one of the biggest weaknesses of Yamato, so, I mean, this is not the meta. Meta is that Wargaming giving every battleship 30 seconds of 180-degree turn time. Like, this has double, I would say, the turn time compared to the newest battleships in the game. So it's very, very weird in that spot, considering these guns will take a huge time, but still the guns are really good. All round good dispersion, especially with the leg mod, you will do really well. And that's why, for me, Yamato is all round good. You can play it at long ranges. If you can utilize the deck plating, it will work fine in my opinion. And that's why, in my personal opinion, by the way, anti-defense is pretty garbage. Carriers will love to hit you. You are extremely weak against two classes. Yes, all the other classes are also not like super good, but some of the battleships are a lot better. But Yamato like struggles, like seriously struggles. It has tier 8, tier 7 levels of anti-defense at tier 10. The carriers will love. If I see a Yamato in a CV, oh my goodness, man. I mean, you simply run. At least you have a fighter plane. You do have the fighter plane. Then you might be able to like sort of defend yourself. But again, if the carrier wants to love you, it will love you by simply sending you to the port. So that's why, for me, it can be a bit rough. That's why I cannot put it into very strong. I do consider carriers and submarines into account when I am rating them. So yeah. So for me, Yamato seems to be all-round good sort of powerhouse in survivability. Yes, it does have the cheek. Yes, it's vulnerable. I haven't talked about that. I'm sure a lot of you guys must know that Yamato cheek is very vulnerable. Takes huge damage, huge citadel hits. Something that you can mitigate. That's why it's sort of a weakness, because when we see something like, for example, the Wisconsin's newest battleships and even those Libertads, they tend to just not take citadel damage for some reason. Like, maybe the Willem De Eerste is an exception. Irresistable is an exception. Yes, sure, we do have some ships like that, but there are still some ships that I have explained about, like the Bungo, the Wisconsin, though, no, not the Bungo, sorry, the Libertad. So, that's why I put it into the A tier, very strong. Seems to be a decent overall ship in even this year. Alright, so the next battleship is going to be the American one, which is the Louisiana. Now, in my personal opinion, I rate the Louisiana to be very strong. A+ tier, and you might be thinking why? It has only 10 guns of Montana, and yes, it does have a plane, but why is it A+ tier for me, very strong? Well, I will explain that in a moment. So here it is, the Louisiana. Now, first of all, it has pretty much kind of comparable survivability compared to the Montana. Very comparable, because you do have 38mm deck armor, you do have a flight deck armor, which Louisiana needs, because you want to launch planes, so that's why you do have it. And also one thing that I must say is very interesting. Now, if you have seen or have tried to play the Kearsarge, which is, by the way, a cool tier 9 sort of 12-gun battleship, you might see that it does have a gigantic more superstructure that is exposed, compared to the Louisiana. Louisiana does have more 38mm plating covering that superstructure, which means that the superstructure of Louisiana is a lot minimalistic. And funny enough, at long ranges, you see this area, this also covers the shells that are like flying, and they are very archy to hit over the deck instead of the superstructure. So at long ranges, this armor will still be very, very tanky. Yes, you do have this tumor of a superstructure, does have 19mm plating, which can be abused at mid to close ranges, sure. But Louisiana is a long range sort of battleship like the Montana, and yes, it does have more vulnerability because of this, but you can mitigate that a lot. And I would say it's a weakness, but you can still work it out. You do have really good HP, good torpedo protection. Yes, you do have only 10 guns, you can see here, so the DPM might be lower. You do, I think, have 1.9 Sigma, pretty much same as Montana. Can use the dispersion module at slot 6, which improves the dispersion, so you get the experience of Montana. But the reason why I would say Louisiana is very strong, not broken because the guns are, the good old guns, does not have overmats, so it's nothing like fantastic as you find on Bungo, so that's why I cannot put the guns to be like really good, but these are decent Montana like guns. The reason why Louisiana gets this attention to the A+ tier, very strong, is because of the planes. The planes are pretty versatile, honestly. If you use these planes, they also have recently buffed the armor penetration of the HE dive bombers. These bombers are very comfortable to use. These are not like the rockets. You simply go and just get to the bow of the battleships. You just simply go to the bow of battleship and you simply drop them. And you do have a lot of bombs in payload. You can have like 12 bombs dealing 7.3k alpha with 46% fire chance. And I can tell you, you can do like maybe 15k, at least 10k plus damage onto the battleship while setting tons of fires. Like, this is crazy, right? And the thing about this making it very strong is you have the power to spot everything on a battleship. Now that is something which is crazy. You are in a battleship, if there is something behind the island, you can launch the plane, spot that thing, maybe a cruiser, maybe a battleship, and you have this instant idea of the surroundings or environment. Like, what will be my next step to fight towards him? Or at least angle towards him or anything. You can already make a decision. Meanwhile, he might not know. Maybe he knows the direction of the planes. That can give him some clue, but still you do have the precise location. Now that is something. And I haven't even talked about that you can spot destroyers and can drop on them. That is really powerful. These bombs are just simply go, click, point, and drop. I mean, they're like so easy to use for even a simple guy that it really makes it pretty good, man. I mean, I don't like this thing that it's just simply point and click. Yes, you might say it happens with all the carriers. No, that's not the case. If you are using the skip bombers, they do require some skill. If there are some players who might say it's a point and click adventure, yes, mostly it is unfortunately the reality, but that's the wargaming that kind of designs them that way. And I hate it and I dislike it to the core. But yeah, this is disgusting. I know you can just even do like 2k to 5k to 7k damage to a destroyer if you are lucky, and especially if you just aim well, they can be pretty brutal. And then you can also spot the destroyer indefinitely unless they come up with a spotting rework. Yes, it's coming along the way to just fix this problem that a plane by any hybrid or maybe the carrier can just spot you indefinitely unless you get into the smoke or disengage, something like that. Well, hopefully when the spotting rework comes, it will be mitigated, but as of right now, you can just hover over the Shimakaze, for example, or the Yu-Yang that unfortunately does not have really good A, and let your team basically farm him to death unless he smokes up. And if he does not have smoke like Jaeger, well, good luck. I must say the Jaeger will have absolute nightmare doing anything to the planes. It's so bad against those poor anti-air destroyers that it's not even funny. So it basically kind of becomes overpowered against those poor destroyers because you can keep hovering them onto the very, for them, a complicated position where they do not want to get spotted. So something that the Louisiana does have as a huge advantage. The spotting is so powerful in the game that they have banned the Louisiana in clan battles. Now that is the biggest reason that makes Louisiana so good. Wargaming realizes it, that a Louisiana can literally change the tide of the game by just simply spotting you. So that's why it's pretty good. Now also one more thing that I like about the Louisiana, that does get a decent concealment. You can make it to around 13 point something kilometer. You do have decent anti-defense, and then also apart from really good bombs, by the way, you do have the fighter consumable. So if the carrier loves to drop you, which by the way can do massive damage to Louisiana because of how bad the tech armor can be. And I mean, I cannot forget the fact that it could be pretty brutal if you are fighting with Prinza and Oranje. and even the Willem De Eerste, like those will love this plating because they will simply full pen. Yeah, you might say that it can be worse against them, but yes, that's the reality of all the American ships. They have kind of power grabbed them by just introducing these, these strikes, air strikes of the Dutch ships. So I don't like it, but they are doing it. But even then, apart from all that, you can somewhat defend against carriers a lot more than the Japanese, and that's what I would say a big plus. And yeah, at the end, I probably have explained everything that you might need to know about this ship. And in my opinion, with somewhat decent speed, you can disengage, run away, kite away. You have the guns to make your ship work. And for me, that's the reason why I will simply put it into the A plus tier, very strong because of the spotting overall as of right now. Okay, so the next ship is going to be the American, good all-round American Montana. I will put it to the A tier, pretty decent. Overall, I would say about the Montana that it is good in many things, in many situations. Not super gimmicky, not overkill by any means or forms, but it's not having like super insane weaknesses that you might find on the Bungo, for example, the bow or stern or something like that. So Montana seems to be all around some weaknesses, but not a whole lot crazy. And yes, the guns will work, the accuracy is decent, but it does not have the overmatch. And let me just give you the reasons why I would say the Montana sits in this category. Now, as you can see, Montana is great. You do have, I would say, pretty okay turn time. I mean, it's not kind of like those newer battleships. Again, there is a power creep in some way or form. Like the newest battleships getting the benefits of 180-degree turn time to 30-second base. Like you're seeing it on basically every new battleship, and Montana is very old battleship, okay? One of the reasons that Montana kinda a bit suffers, and this is a big weakness I must say, that I don't know why they haven't changed about it, and that is like the rudder shift time. Like the rudder shift time of Montana is 22.2 seconds. Holy moly, what is that, Wargaming? Come on. Yes, it's a gigantic battleship. The problem with the Montana is it does have the armor plating, and it does have a citadel exposed slightly, just barely waterline. I'm not gonna say above waterline, it's a barely waterline. But again, the moment a shell penetrates through this armor plating, which I will see so issue here, this armor plating, then you are going to be very much vulnerable to be citadel. So again, it's a weakness, it's a good weakness. It's nothing like a huge gigantic citadel like you might find on Irresistible or Willem De Eerste. Sure, it's not gonna be like that, but yeah, it is vulnerable. The problem is you have to really turn and show broadside for a good long time because of the turning circle and rudder shift. So that is something that you have to mitigate when playing Montana. Otherwise, good all-around anti-defense. I'm not gonna say it's good. The carriers will ruin the game if he simply focuses you every single time, many times, even though you do have the fighter consumable. Something that I still like, but a lot of players do like the spotter. But if you hate CVs, you can pick the fighter, and I can tell you with this sort of numbers, you will be doing slightly better than Yamato. You might shot down some planes, but expect the carrier will still farm you to death if you are pushing into a carrier. So if you see a carrier trying to farm you, you do have some time compared to other ships like Yamato and Bungo. Like you do have the tankiness, you do have some torpedo protection. They have also recently nerfed the carrier torpedoes, so you heal back of those aerial torpedoes more. But even then, you cannot rely on these numbers. Yes, they might be better than Bungo or Yamato, but just to be safe, kite away if you want to, and utilize these guns in kiting. And I would say with this armor profile, it got, unfortunately I must say, with the newest German cruiser like the Bremen, or any ship like the Germans having, with 150mm guns, they basically pen 38mm. The Willem De Eerste, the Prinman Orange, these are actually power creeping the Montana armor pretty unfortunately at a higher rate than I have expected. Like this armor used to be really good, resistant to be overmatched by Yamato. It's still resistant to be overmatched by anything as of right now, but still you do have a big superstructure. You will be farmed a lot, but something that you can mitigate though, if anyone is farming, that you do have like really good heals. You probably have like around 20 to 25k HP that you can heal with one repair party, something that is really good. And you can have like 6 heals if you are maybe using the I would say the improved repair party readiness. So you can be very tanky, and maybe if you use the leg mod, you can be even more tanky, although probably not super good, but it can work a lot. So the thing about the Montana is that with the armor, with the guns that, by the way, as a weakness, I would say they don't have overmatch. We're getting cruisers that have a lot of decent plating, like 40 millimeter, some of them, but it cannot even overmatch 30 millimeters. So it will struggle a lot. I mean, even if you want to switch to HE to set fires, I mean, it's not good in that. It's not like the Bungo that can just switch to HE, but it does not need to because you overmatch. And you have insane accuracy, like ridiculous levels of accuracy that Montana does not. So it does not have those gimmicks. It's just good all-around battleship. Just expect to be good for what it does. The guns will work well. I do like the guns, but they are not special. And Wargaming with all the battleship, they are giving F key to Sibir, they're giving F key to something like Wisconsin. And Wisconsin, if you really have Wisconsin, compare the Montana guns with Wisconsin, and you will soon realize why I will play Montana over Wisconsin. That is the unfortunate reality, I must say. Like, Wisconsin guns are so much more consistent, even they have 9 guns, that Montana sort of feels like a bit, man, when they will be buffing at least my rudder shift. Seriously, Wargaming. But even all those weaknesses, it still work well because of the healing potential that Wisconsin does not. It does have more HP than that. It does have more healing potential than that because of more HP in general. So even then, I would say Montana is good. It does not have, again, something like the extra speed that you find on most battleships, having the speed boost. Like every new battleship nowadays, maybe at least with the Willem De Eerste, and maybe more battleships are coming in future, they have either something like the time-based consumable or something like the Valparaiso with F key that just gives so much survivability that Montana does not. So yeah, it's a good all-around, no gimmicky battleship, and that's why, because of sort of gimmicks in this hull, I kind of have to rate it to simple, strong, good, fun to play, but not super exciting anymore, since Wargaming kind of creates excitement with the more super broken keys. So yeah, take it or give it, whatever you say. I will gonna put it in this tier. It kind of fits here perfectly. Now the next battleships is actually very, very interesting. It kind of really beats out some of the good heavy cruisers at tier 10. Like, this is the opposite of Montana in a very weird way. And obviously I'm talking about the Rhode Island. Honestly, Rhode Island, it's a very strong ship. Broken, probably I can put it into broken, but nah, I think it seems to be okay here. I do like the radar that it has. 9-kilometer radar. It does have tons of gimmicks, by the way. Let me just go to the Rhode Island real quick, and why I'm only limiting it to very strong, even though it's probably slightly A++ tier or almost S tier. Almost. I mean, if I can put it here, I don't think so I'm doing injustice to the whole ships there. I don't think so. I'm justifying the Rhode Island pretty much fine, even if I put it into S tier. But again, I will put it into A tier. I don't think so. It's like crazy. But let's go and talk about it. So there it is, the Rhode Island. Now, first thing first, it's, I think, the only battleship at tier 10 that has radar. I might need to check, but I think it's the only battleship that has radar for a battleship. That is something very unique. Now, Rhode Island is full of gimmicks. Let's start talking about the gimmicks. It does have the speed boost, kind of hits the meta clearly. Like, this is a meta ship. You do have the speed boost. You already have the base speed of 34.7 knots. You can get it up to 40 plus knots with the help of Brisk. You do have the fast cooldown time on heals that you find on Ohio, Georgia, and Massachusetts. So again, meta like repair party. Radar is also pretty good. And on top of that, you do have secondaries as well working for you. If you build secondaries, okay, if you fully build Rhode Island for secondaries, you can have really good dispersion on them. Like, obviously, if you use this skill, this one, which I'm not using, I mean, that's totally up to you. But if you use manual secondary battery aiming, you will definitely gonna be chewing up DDs pretty hard with the guns. and with the secondaries. And I can tell you, this is pretty powerful, to be honest. Yes, it does have only 9-kilometer radar, but you can't counter destroyers. That's crazy. Like, the only problem with the battleships when facing the destroyers is that you cannot spot them yourself. You need a destroyer or a radar cruiser or maybe a carrier to spot them. But Rhode Island can do it if a destroyer is dumb enough to get into the radar. Again, I can tell you, it's a very painful, deadening sort of experience for that destroyer. So it does have a really good counter. Now that alone makes it good, along with the secondaries that can deal damage to them. The speed boost is great. The guns are battle cruiser dispersion, which you find also on the Wisconsin, but compared to the Wisconsin's 2.0 Sigma, it does have 1.7. So dispersion might not be exactly crazy that you find on Wisconsin, slightly worse, but it's not bad. Again, we're talking about battle cruiser dispersion with American dispersion ellipse of 1.7 Sigma. So it's still very good. And then you have 12 guns compared to the 9 on Wisconsin. And what really makes it good, that it does have improved penetration angle on these guns. So what I have seen playing Rhode Island, that you can be an absurd HE spammer and I can just simply brush a fly like the Puerto Rico from my shoulder, because Puerto Rico is like crying in the corner and thinking, my goodness, if someone has Rhode Island, there's an identity crisis of the Puerto Rico. Like literally super unfortunate fact for that guy, that why would you play Puerto Rico in any way or form, that Rhode Island exists, and in a better way or form because of the heals and everything. And then you have like fire prevention, extra heals. So like it kinda makes cruiser face palm, like literally face palm. It kind of makes Hindenburg seems to be like, why I would play this over, like why you would play Hindenburg over Rhode Island, because it will do so fine. You have so much survivability as a heavy cruiser. It has really good armor profile. It does have a citadel, but the Hindenburg does have, and sort of a bit weaker. Yes, you do have 27mm plating, but if we solely think Rhode Island as a cruiser, it's the best cruiser in the game. And I'm not joking when I say this. Massive HP compared to cruisers. Really good guns, improved penetration angles. I mean, honestly, if there is a cruiser trying to push in, showing a bit of an angle where you can use that improved penetration angle, you do have enough AP to punch. And the best thing about the Rhode Island is, as a cruiser, you still citadel battleships at around 10 kilometers. You have enough penetration. You do have better penetration than Alaska and Puerto Rico. So these guns are very powerful. And then even if you are using AP, sure. The only reason why, I have explained all the strengths. Yes, the guns are amazing. The HE, by the way, HE, if you really think of Rhode Island and Bungo, they are in the same train. They do pretty hilarious damage against battleships if you are using HE, because the fire chance is great. Alpha is pretty decent considering the reload time. So you will be doing pretty good damage against battleships setting fires. Like you can be insane fire starter because your dispersion is also pretty good. The thing about the Rhode Island, which kind of makes it a bit lagging, is the bow and side plating. Okay, that's where if the Rhode Island would have 32mm plating, it becomes broken, because then you can actually push battleships. Most battleships except for the Yamato Satsumas, they can overmatch 32, right? So that's where every battleship will have a problem. Even a Kremlin can. But if the Rhode Island would have 32mm plating, then it will be immune to be overmatched, and no one can just utilize this plating to shoot you, and you can just push freely. And even then you can push freely in many situations, because you can utilize the speed and all that, right? But it's sort of a weakness. Again, a nitpicking here that kind of makes it not pushing into the broken category. Also, one more thing that, I mean, you cannot treat these guns to be sniper-like. These shells take time. You do have American feel into it in shooting the shells. So when you shoot the shells, I kind of feel like it takes time. So it's not like Stalinium guns you find on Stalingrad, or not the Petro guns, right? But still, American shells, freedom shells, they come and hit the target, but you don't expect citadels, okay? You do expect penetration damage, a lot of penetration damage onto the upper belt of battleships and citadel in cruisers. But these two things, if you can citadel battleship, maybe it does have penetration like crazy, which I know it seems very, very justified after it kind of almost makes it to the broken category. The only thing that kind of softening this Rhode Island not getting into the broken category is because of the guns and the shell arcs, which are still good, but not super good that you just comfortably hit and just pinpoint shoot and accurately do what you want. So even then, I believe Rhode Island is a solid choice. Honestly, it's a meta defining. The gimmicks that it has are really, really good. Repositioning is so powerful in this ship. I don't think so you can do on any other battleship. Like the speed is so good. Yes, it does have Citadel. Obviously, that's the case with the Montana. But you can just turn out and kite away and just spam HE and just farm battleships to death more quickly than any other battleship. Maybe Bungo comes in mind, maybe some other battleship, but these are better, way better than other ships in my opinion. So, Rhode Island, it's a beast. It's a beast of a ship. It's almost broken. Honestly, it's almost broken if not for these bow weaknesses and maybe the shells that I kind of not a big fan of, but still, I'm just kind of overrating, maybe rating Rhode Island a bit, I would say, too much. Like, I'm just, trying to nitpick here. So, well, that's why I think it's a very strong A+ tier. Okay, now the good old, pretty old I would say for research bureau ship, Ohio. Honestly, Ohio is still very strong. Ohio is like, yes. First of all, the good thing about this is that it is very much accessible. Now, in terms of accessibility, it's kind of have the similar feel in comparison to Shikishima. Like, Shikishima is not valuable because there is a Satsuma that exists. Ohio, at least in terms of value and performance and what it does, kind of like Rhode Island in a very different way. It does have that access. You can easily get your first research bureau battleship. Okay, so Ohio can be still the first one. Honestly, it's so good. And because of that accessibility alone, I kind of have to put it into A+ tier. But again, this is my personal feeling for the Ohio and for the player base to access this very strong battleship. It is indeed a very strong battleship, okay? So let's talk about it. So there it is, the Ohio. Honestly, it's a very powerful battleship. Again, it does still, even after it got released for a very long time, it still kind of works well. Now, I would say if you want to get sort of a feeling of Bungo, but having way better armor profile, like for example, now you do have 32mm plating, 38mm deck. Again, don't talk about the Willem De Eerste. They can absolutely brutalize you. Sure, that's unfortunate reality. But even then, exceptions are now unfortunately there for Ohio. It not used to be like that. And kinda, I would say if I would have talked about the Ohio, maybe a couple of years ago, it would be simply broken. Honestly, it's simply broken. But with the power creep and some of the things that are existing, like the Wisconsin or Bungo, that have like way insane accuracy, the Ohio seems to be now sort of just very slightly tuned down. Now, I'm not gonna say a lot, very, very little. And the guns are really good. Overmatching cruisers, penetration is really good, in fact better than the Bungo. The shells are good, the dispersion is decent, 2.0 Sigma, but only battleship dispersion, so that is something that you have to deal with. But it's consistent overall. I'm not gonna say it's really as insanely consistent as with the spotter plane Bungo, but it still does all around good with that dispersion pattern, especially if you can utilize this 6th slot thing on the Ohio. It does have the same thing like you find on the Rhode Island. You do heal a lot because you do have a lot of HP. You do have decent torpedo belt compared to, I would say the Rhode Island has less torpedo belt. Yeah. So Ohio does have more survivability, way more survivability compared to the Rhode Island. But what it does not have, and again, something like you can say Ohio is sort of the alternate to Rhode Island, but it's not like it's like the bigger brother of the Rhode Island. It's not like the, I would say, a cunning wolf, like a real wolf sort of gameplay that you do on Rhode Island. Like, it's just too disgusting. Like, you switch to HE and just set fires. Yes, you can do all that shenanigans, improve pan angles. It does have, like, it feels like a bigger brother. in a way that it does have really punchy AP now, can Citadel battleships at range, unlike Rhode Island, can also for some time for time to time, if you want to switch to HE, you do switch to HE, you have a decent fire chance in alpha. You can also do that. The dispersion will work for you as well. You can do all of that kind of like Rhode Island does, but obviously you cannot do one thing, which is like the speed. Now it's very unfortunate that Rhode Island has for some reason having only 28 knots of base speed. Now you can get it to almost 30 knots, but for some reason the Rhode Island is not having the meta defining speed. Now that is something that is lagging compared to the newer battleship that we are seeing in the game. So again, something that I always gonna see Ohio a bit lagging. Anti-defense is okay, just like the Montana and all that stuff, so you can somewhat mitigate carriers a lot more damage because you do heal a lot. You burn through heals very quickly, and the best thing about Ohio is that you can push. In this battleship compared to other battleships like the Rhode Island can sometimes struggle against a good player because he can get you exposed by shooting at your bow, but Ohio can really simply push. It can have the 40 seconds of cooldown time, so it is more like a bigger brother, hard hitting sort of guy, having more HP and everything going for it. It's just that it does not have the speed if every focus fire comes along the way. Like if you do get focused so much, it's definitely gonna crumble, but everything will crumble, but it cannot run away as quickly, and it struggles in fact. So that's where it will do a bit of a problem. But even then, overall, I think it's a mighty boss. I think it's still very, very powerful. I think it does have, by the way, it's really like impressive secondaries. Honestly, it's still the same thing, Rhode Island, but except that you do have 9% fire chance. I think Rhode Island has less fire chance. Yeah, 5%. These are the Massachusetts and the Georgia sort of fire chance secondaries. The Ohio does have more fire per minute. If you send fires onto the battleship by using secondaries, well, this is a lot much more potent. So you can do that, but again, it does have some weaknesses. The speed is one of them, and honestly, if it does have really, really good speed, right, maybe Ohio gets also to the broken level. But the speed is only the reason I cannot put it into the S tier. And the accuracy compared to the today's standards and the F keys that we are getting, it seems to be a bit lagging. Overall, still a strong, punchy boss. No matter what, it still works fine for me. And I'm sure if you buy this ship, this will do really still well. And that's why I have to say it's very strong. Alright, so the next battleship, well, it's going to be the Vermont. Now, Vermont is a powerhouse for sure, and maybe it might come as a surprise, but I will rate the Vermont to be strong. One more thing I have to say, if there is a tier between A plus and A, I might put the Vermont in the middle. Now, why Vermont is A tier? Now, the thing is, I rate speed a lot, and Vermont, even though it does have the same thing like Ohio going for it, it does have 12,457 meter guns. They punch hard, they have really good alpha, everything, really good fire chance that you find on Ohio, everything, but the speed is really something that is lagging. The armor profile is big, it catches a lot of shells. Again, let me talk about that by showcasing you this in the port. Okay, so there it is, the Vermont, the same thing. Armor profile is good. In some ways, even though it does have a very vulnerable sort of weakness, Citadel, I will get to that. It does have really decent HP, good torpedo protection, amazing guns, 1.95 Sigma. You can slap the dispersion mod, and by the way, if you are using the leg mod, right, you can improve the main battery reload time, which again is a weakness. You do have like a really long reload time of 40 seconds. You can get it down to 36. These are really good strengths. If Vermont catches a broadside cruiser off guard, well, it's gonna get depth struck. Honestly, RNG obviously is there. The dispersion can still troll you, but it will troll the least because you have so many shells. And look at the alpha, 1.7k. I have obviously buffed the alpha with the use of the commander skill, but honestly, I like that buff because you do have a lot of alpha. The thing about the Vermont and what's going for it is the alpha and decent penetration and punch on broadsides. The broadside punching capability of the Vermont is one of the biggest reason and also the strength of the Vermont. And you might say, oh, that's why you should put it into the A plus very strong category. The guns are good that you might find on the Bungo. Problem is, I do like this fact. And I can even put it to the very strong. The problem is, and here I find it very, very painful feeling when I have played and experienced the Vermont, is that when there is a DD and you do have like abysmally bad speed, even with the speed flag. Yes, you can even improve the speed with the help of, I would say, the brisk. Even then, the speed is so slow. A good destroyer, like for example, we have seen now a ton of good destroyers that have now not only the heals but also having like the short smokes. There are so many hit and run sort of destroyers and have long range, very easy to farm battleships like Vermont. Thing going for it that Vermont struggles. That's my personal experience, that you cannot able to contest the caps. You can only stay in the middle and try to spot any broadside cruiser or battleship. In that area, it will shine way better than many other battleships that might put it into the higher tiers. Sure, it does better in smashing, but it just does not do well in repositioning. Your speed is low. A destroyer will absolutely make your life nightmare because you don't even have the speed to get to maybe your closest cruiser ally. It's difficult. It makes life even hard. Yes, talking about the life that you can make hard, there's one class that you can do. Now, unlike Montana and Louisiana or maybe other battleships, it does have now a defensive fire for a tech tree battleship and also at the same time having a fighter consumable. Now, I can tell you one thing. If you're using this mod, well, this leg mod, not only that you will improve the continuous AA damage by plus 15%, if you fully build the Vermont, maybe with the skills of the entire and using the fighter and defensive fire, I can tell you, I will, as a very good CV player, again, I'm not bragging it, I'm just saying it, just that I have extensive sort of experience, and based on even that experience, I will not touch Vermont, because Vermont has ridiculous entire defense with defensive fire, and even the fighter, you can maybe drop once, okay, you can do that. You can drop your payload, but you will lose entire squadron. Maybe if you pre-drop and have a heal, like the Shinano does, that sort of can bypass this whole defensive protection that you have against CVs. But even then, most CV players will lose so many planes. And I am not lying when I'm saying this. Maybe I cannot say it for any other battleship. I can say that for Vermont, 100%. Especially with this, and if you are using these captain skills. This is where I'm gonna say it can goes to S tier. Entire numbers, I can tell you it goes to entire S tier. Absolutely. It gets broken against carriers. But there are still some ways that the carrier will do the strikes on you if they have heals. That is an exception. But even then, most CV players, even the good CV players, will lose planes. But it still does not guarantee that you are immune to take damage. I cannot guarantee that, but I can guarantee one thing. You will hurt carrier, I would say reserves, 110%. You will hurt, unlike maybe any other ship. If he focuses you constantly, and if you are trying to mitigate the damage, I can assure you that he will lose in a long run a lot of planes from the reserve. But the weakness, again, the same thing. Really good guns, really good dispersion, everything works for the Vermont, the speed, and if the destroyer comes, try to top you, you are a very slow turtle that has a very difficult time against them. Unless you are, okay, I can say one thing though, that if you are playing the Vermont in division, I can put it simply here without any issues whatsoever. Vermont is that good, but if you're playing solo, no, Vermont, no, I can't put that, man. It's my personal experience. I find it hard to push, come to around islands, maybe do something that helps the teammates. I can't do aggression. Aggression is difficult because I don't have the speed. So Vermont, does struggle, but it does punch crazy, man. Oh my goodness. That you won't be even finding that on Bungo. Yes, the dispersion is not like Bungo. Bungo has crazy dispersion. Maybe you can compare it with the upcoming ship, which I will explain, the Wisconsin. But Vermont is all around more punchier than any other battleship in the game. Honestly, that is where it really shines. 8 years strong seems to be good. Honestly, in division could be very strong. Very, very much comfortably very strong. Okay, the next ship. Maybe some people might say, really? Do you think that? But Wisconsin. A well-played Wisconsin is the most terrifying player in the game. Broken. It does have everything going for it, honestly. First of all, I love the Bungo, like specifically because of the guns. Wisconsin does have it. Yes, it does not have that. You can say it does not have that overmatch, 30mm overmatch on cruisers, but the same problem. You can always precisely pinpoint accurately hit onto the bows of cruisers if they are bowing in, like Montana, Salem, or whatever, Stalingrad, Salem, or whatever. You can do that, and on top of that, you do have kind of like the same survivability thing going for it. Like, for example, like you find on the Valparaiso. Valparaiso can get the F key many times based on the secondary hits. Wisconsin can get the F key, which is the main gimmick of this ship, and also the accuracy. Accuracy is kind of... Now, if I really say about... when I compare Montana and Wisconsin guns are just so much consistent than many other battleships in the game. Yes, Bungo comes close. Maybe I would say... Ohio. No, Ohio is not. Ohio does not, but still... it comes close to Bungo with the spotter plane. Wisconsin with 2.0 Sigma and battlecruiser dispersion, which I will show you right now in the port, is lethal levels of accurate. Like, that dispersion is kind of cracked. I think for 406mm guns at tier 10, it has the best dispersion. It has even better vertical dispersion, believe it or not, than Slava. And Slava used to have the title, the king of vertical dispersion, because the shells are so good with the vertical dispersion pattern. But Wisconsin kinda overtaken that crown from even the Slava. It's so good in broadside. Again, it's the broadside, and even then, that dispersion is just so good. 2.0 Sigma and battlecruiser dispersion. I didn't thought that Wargaming will come up with this sort of dispersion, but what I'm currently seeing over time, that we might come to a point, like, for example, if we have the Montana that has battleship dispersion and not getting any gimmicks around it, now we have the Wisconsin or Rhode Island that does have battlecruiser dispersion. Now we will have a time where a battleship will have on these guns a cruiser dispersion. So yeah, at some point I'm expecting that for sure. And then you do have the F key, which I'm expecting more in the future. Like, for example, we do have the Sibir, which also gets the accuracy improvement. But in the case of Wisconsin, this gives both like, I would say, offensive and defensive tool. Like, you have really good guns, but then poor Bourgogne, I'm seeing right in the corner, he basically cries when he sees this F key. You have the reload booster, which is, you can see, main battery reload time by -50, and then you do have another nation, which is Pan American, which you find on San Martin, or maybe, San Martin, I would say that's the biggest example. You do have the consumable preparation and reload time by -80. So if you use the F key, if for example, if you do have the DCP, if you have done the DCP, you use the F key, you have utilized the DCP, now your DCP is reloading up again, maybe the heel is reloading up again, you just simply press the F key and both are getting loaded within no time. I think in 10 seconds, you will have both of them. What really that means is, you will be sort of immune to fires. If you keep shooting the shells, again, that's if. There is an if, and if comes from very good player. If you are a very good player, if you know what you're doing, if you are hitting these shells, you can see the hit enemy ship with the main battery shell. If you do this consistently, I think within 3 volleys, you will have the F key loaded easily, no problem. Dispersion is just crazy good, honestly. Oh my goodness. Bungo and Wisconsin both are in the same category in terms of dispersion, to be honest. So that is the strength. Like, survivability that you can get and the reload booster that you can get is just now honestly for me a broken thing. And then even if you think, yeah, that okay, I want to just maybe set fires and there's a battleship bowing in, because again that's one thing that is not according to this today's meta, that it's not having 457, but still even then I feel it to be pretty solid, because you can hit onto the superstructure like on Bungo and can do massive maybe 20k volleys. I have done that from in my Wisconsin, man. Oh boy, it's just absolutely cracked in that regard. Concealment is also pretty good, 12.9. Speed, again the same thing. It's hitting all the boxes, meta boxes. Speed, brisk, with the help of brisk, you can get to 37. Concealment, meta-like concealment. Like this is heavy cruiser level of concealment on tier 10 battleship. Guns, insanely accurate. Yes, I have to say the only reason why Wisconsin, and I will still put it into the broken tier, the only area where you might see Wisconsin might have a bit of an issue is that it's not having the tier 10 HP levels. And that's the reason why you also don't get that much healing power that you might find on Montana, because it does have more HP, you heal percentage based HP, so you heal more. You can do that in Wisconsin, but even with low HP, I would still say it's pretty insane. And honestly, use DCP mod 1, because this will give you enough time for your DCP. I would say your DCP to have the action time of 31 seconds. And in these 31 seconds, most likely you will have your F key ready in between that time. And then you just simply use the F key again, and then you're just immune to fires and floods, as long as you are shooting to a ship. And I think the best way to get the F key is to just simply hitting onto the battleships, and then you just F key and get insane benefit in return. And then when I say that Wisconsin also have somewhat of an anti-defense numbers better compared to the Montana and I would say the Louisiana, it is. Now Wisconsin can be turned into a Vermont. If you have seen the Vermont chapter, I basically said that Vermont is very powerful, but if you use Wisconsin defensively and fighter consumable on this ship, you can actually, again, the same thing like the Vermont, have way higher chance to deplete its reserve and kind of dent on its squadron with 2 of these consumables. If you use it in a very, I would say, nice way, if you know what you're doing, if you know how to counter CVs, you can utilize them and can get huge benefits. So good, really good against CVs, really good things going forward, like I have explained before, makes it, in my opinion, obviously you don't get the spotter of spotting hybrid plane like you find on Louisiana, otherwise it would be completely and utterly broken than I can think of. But even if he does not have that, it's simply the broken. You play it, you will literally feel it, what I'm saying about this ship. A well-played Wisconsin is the most powerful thing in the game. And that's why it's pretty much S tier, broken. It's absolutely meta-defining sort of ship. Okay, so the next battleship is going to be the Russian Kremlin. I will put it into the A tier, strong. You might be thinking, okay, Kremlin has really good deck armor, 60mm deck armor, does have fast DCPs, they have a very good cooldown on the DCP itself. It can be pretty good, right? You might wanna maybe rethink of Kremlin and put it to A+ tier. That's probably your question that you might be thinking, that Kremlin at close ranges, mid to close ranges have really good dispersion, tighter dispersion, because again, the way that a dispersion pattern works on the Russian battleships, you might be thinking, what are you doing? Why not Kremlin here? Now here's the thing. Every battleship that is I have explained above, A+ tier, does not have this issue where if you want to maybe play it at long range, okay, if you won't, I would say, suffer from bad dispersion that Kremlin gets. Like, Kremlin has not good dispersion at all. I'm not gonna lie. Yes, you do have 1.8 sigma, and I mean, Wargaming can come up with an absurd ways to make a better Kremlin, which I will explain about this battleship later. But yeah, it's at long ranges will be not so good, because again the dispersion will be pretty awful, not awful though, but it's still not something that you find on Wisconsin. It's not consistent. Yes, it can get consistent at mid to close ranges, but most of the time, even if you are playing these above ships or any brawling battleship, you cannot push like straight ham in and just use the islands. Yes, you can use the islands and you can find the position, you can be lucky here, but you cannot do that at the start of the game. You have to play for some time at long ranges, and that's where Kremlin definitely hits hard with that dispersion pattern. Even if it's having 1.8 sigma, even if it's having 60mm armor plating. Let me just show you in the port real quick. So there it is, the Kremlin. Yes, you do have the overmatch. You push in with this really good HP, really good armor. I mean, not anyone, like even I cannot believe, I mean, that I have to say this, even the Libertad cannot punch through this 60mm plating with its 59mm secondary guns, 59mm, HE penetration. So Kremlin can be very, very tanky. Yes, your side armor is very good. You shatter a lot of HE shells. Yes, you do even have the superstructure, but it can be saturated and you will take half damage. So very tanky. There is no doubt about that. But if you personally ask me, I would rate Kremlin, or at least any other battleship in the game, a lot for the guns or any special gimmick going for it. It's a gimmick. The armor itself is a very, very good gimmick, don't get me wrong, but the guns at long ranges, maybe more than 15 kilometers, it will struggle a bit. You can still do damage, but it will still struggle. You will not gonna get your precise dispersion that you get on maybe Wisconsin or Bungo, and that's why I will kind of rate it a bit onto the lower side. That's why it cannot be put into the broken 100%. I want that dispersion if I want to rate it higher, which I don't find. However, and I must say, with the introduction of Sibir, which have time-based consumable, it kinda, unfortunately I have to say this, it kinda sort of power creep the Kremlin, because sometimes, and I'm not gonna lie, sometimes what can happen, that you do have the repair party and having a 73, in my build, 73 seconds of cooldown time, which is still very high, so you have to wait for a long time to get your heal up. Sometimes if you get focused fire and you caught in a tough position, unlike Sibir, Kremlin might not be able to utilize all the heals. Whereas in the Sibir, you can just simply use a full heal, time-based heal, and you can just fully utilize it once you think that, okay, I cannot really put it on the cooldown time. I cannot press, I think, the T button. That basically stops the Sibir from healing and saving that time. And you can utilize it later on after 40 seconds, because it does have a 40 second on Sibir. You cannot do that on Kremlin. So Sibir has so much more flexibility. Yes, it does have less healing potential than Kremlin, but even then, Sibir has overall a better healing. Yes, you can argue that it does have less armor plating, but you can be still not overmatched by any battleship in Sibir, like Kremlin. So it is non-overmatchable battleship, the Sibir I'm talking about. So Kremlin is the same, but Sibir does better, and Sibir and Kremlin, yes, it can get really good dispersion, but Sibir gets like crazy good dispersion, like, and that's why it's sort of, I must say, with the time-based healing, this is a very new thing, and unfortunately, I have to say this, that Wargaming will be adding, most likely, that's my thought and opinion, that they might add more time-based healing in future, which kind of also makes Sibir good. And also, you have to invest on healings in Kremlin. Whereas, like, your captain skill, like literally 4 and 3 points have to be spent on Kremlin, right? Whereas you do not need to do that on Sibir. Like, you can just save so many of these, I would say, skill points, and you can invest it on secondaries. And secondaries are, I think in the case of Sibir, it does have a highest hitting DPM. It just have so many shells hitting and so good fire chance with the secondaries. Kremlin feels, and I have to say, sort of power grab. The only thing that Kremlin does have going for it, unfortunately, right now, is the armor. The only thing that Kremlin does have better, sort of, is the armor. Maybe slightly better dispersion, maybe there is a bit of a fluctuation in the dispersion. I think the Sibir does. I have seen the shiptool.st, a website where you just compare the stats directly. I think Sibir does have like slight bit of dispersion numbers worse compared to Kremlin. I don't know why it's the case. It does have 1.7 sigma, but even then, that F key is just disgusting. And that time-based consumable is also super sort of meta-defining. Again, power creeps the Kremlin, in my opinion, I would say. The only thing that kind of makes Kremlin okay is when you are finding Willem De Eerste and he's dropping on Kremlin, where Kremlin will be saying, okay, at least he's not going to be fully pen my deck. Whereas in the case of Sibir, you might basically do massive 20-30k damage. Whereas Kremlin can take maybe 10-15k because a lot of the bombs will shatter onto this deck armor. So that is something that you can say the Kremlin is good, but yeah, the dispersion at long ranges kind of puts me off, honestly. And Sibir exists. Unfortunately, I have to say right now. So in my opinion, Kremlin has to be in the A tier. I would say strong. It does what it does well. Mid to close range is great. Anti is also pretty okay, but it's not like Vermont or Wisconsin, but still works. They have actually unnerfed that AA survivability. It used to have really bad anti-defense survivability, and with the recent buffs, or at least in the case of CVs, the nerfs they have done to CVs, you will be able to shot down more planes in Kremlin. But again, the next ship, the Sibir, will kind of do so many things better, unfortunately I have to say, than Kremlin. So Sibir, honestly, again, Sibir is basically the Russian Ohio. Okay, Sibir, in my opinion, they come up with a Russian ship that kind of rivals like that of Ohio in a Russian way, because again, it does tend to have the same dispersion issue like Kremlin. But again, why I'm putting it into the A+ tier is you have the F key, you get 20% dispersion improvement. Once you're using, you get 2 volleys in the F key, so you get 2 dispersion tightening improvement 2 times during that F key. So that is again a good bonus. And then you do have the really good secondaries. And also, I was talking about the Kremlin before, you do have the time-based heal, a meta-defining heal. I don't think so. And I have to say, with my experience, that Sibir, if you're using time-based consumable, I don't think so you will. Probably, unlike Kremlin, you will utilize all the heal. It's just a matter of 100 seconds, right? The 100 second, you will use it 100 to 0 all the way. And you will not die. You will use all that healing that Sibir gets with the time-based consumable. You cannot guarantee that in Kremlin. I can, if you are somewhat of a decent player, I can guarantee you that you can just use all the heal. Now that is just insane. You just heal, full. Utilize all the heals. Like, you know what's really the objective? When I used to play like 2-3 years ago, when I play Montana or Yamato or something like that, you know what my really objective is in a battleship? That I have to utilize all the heals. And wargaming is like, what if we make a battleship that just does not have to really think like that? You just press the button and you utilize all the heal. That is honestly crazy. If you really think of it, that we come up into this meta, or at least wargaming come up with this defining meta, where I unfortunately seeing more time-based consumable healing like Sibir, and then the F key, and then the secondary. So Kremlin cannot set fires. It wants to set fires, but it cannot. So it does not burn battleship or anything quicker, or even fighting destroyers will be easier because you have secondaries working for you. If a destroyer trying to farm you, right at around 10-11 kilometers, you can just basically switch to him and your secondaries will be accurate enough to deal with him. Something that Kremlin will not gonna do that. You have 40mm deck armor, which can be power I'm not gonna say power creep, but I'm gonna say that it can be punched by Willem De Eerste, or I would say the Prince van Oranje airstrikes. But still, Sibir has you can really say, and I must say that Sibir is like a petro armor scheme at tier 10. You know, you see the petros, they take also not that crazy damage. The Sibir also does not take damage. You can say basically it's a Petro levels of armor, but a battleship hull of Kremlin. The tech armor is the key. And that's why Petro takes less damage, Sibir takes also less damage. Yes, in some areas, the cruisers will pen, but how many cruisers will pen for against Sibir? Maybe the Hindenburg? Maybe a battleship now switch to HE and farm you? Maybe the Bungo can do that? Yes, the only reason why Sibir I will not gonna put it into the S tier is because at long ranges it still struggles with the Kremlin, and you cannot, like, if you're looking to build it for secondaries, which is a need because you want to proc this FK as much as possible, you need that range so that it starts to quickly launch those secondaries once anything is under 11.6 kilometer. So you want that Sibir secondary to be having enough range. And the problem is, just like Kremlin, Sibir does not have really good dispersion at long ranges, okay? But at least you have more pushing power when you need. Kremlin also have the pushing power when you need, but not having that time-based heal, man. And sometimes you can be super focused fire and die. Whereas Sibir in a shorter format, and I must say, yes, Kremlin also good in shorter format, but Sibir is stupidly an exception because then your secondaries are also working for you. Honestly, I'm gonna say that pretty much here clearly, it's sort of a better Kremlin. It's without a doubt. I would say it's very powerful Sibir ranked battles. I'm gonna be rating Sibir. If I want to play Sibir or Kremlin in randoms or ranked, I will pick Sibir. That's what I would like to do. Yes, you heal less compared to Kremlin, but you just heal when you really want and utilize all the heal. Something I struggle. That's what I feel. So Sibir, in my opinion, with that amazing dispersion, when you get, you will be a death sentence to cruiser, but once you kick that dispersion F key, so I will put it here. Simple as that. A+ tier, very strong. Not gonna lie, it's better than Kremlin. That's my personal opinion. You can disagree with that, but yeah. All right. So the next battleship, another Soviet one, and that is Slava. Now, I love Slava, but in many cases, Slava compared to any other ships is not that good. If you honestly, if you solely rate on the guns, I can put it into the maybe strong, maybe sometimes very strong. The thing about the Slava is, by the way, I will put it into the B tier. That's what I believe about the Slava. Now, the reason the Slava can be into the A tier or into the A+ tier depends totally upon the broadsides. If there are bad players, okay, the more the bad players in the game, in the randoms or in the ranked, broadsiding all the time, the more it gets good. Because first of all, Slava has insane bonkers penetration. Yes, it is easily accessible in research bureau points, but the guns does not overmatch. So cruisers can angle. You can catch them off guard because your shell velocity is crazy good, and your dispersion, vertical dispersion, probably is the best at long ranges. Not the best, but one of the best, because there is also Wisconsin, which I have already said that Wisconsin kinda slightly has edge over the Slava with vertical dispersion. But even then, if I have to really take Slava, I mean, any other battleship can also do that. Yes, the thing about the Slava is that it will citadel battleships at long ranges. Now, something that you want to get as a dopamine hit, if you really think of Slava as a which of the battleship has the best sort of dopamine hit, because again, honestly, this game is about dopamine hit. If I'm not lying, this is not the lie. This is the real truth. I have to say, you get dopamine hit from Sibir, right? With the new abomination sort of FK and all that stuff, right? And how the secondaries work. Slava, if you want to solely rely on that dopamine stuff hitting onto the broadside battleship, if they are dumb enough, Slava can be easily A+ tier. But I'm assuming in this case that the players somewhat decent. They know how to angle. They know that Slava does have the bow that is very vulnerable, which I will show you right now. So there it is, the Slava itself. And if the players know 25mm Bravo, they know how to deal against the Slava at medium ranges. If the Wisconsin or Bungo comes up and precisely aim this area, if you maybe pushed in a late game, Slava will absolutely struggle. It does have a penetration at long ranges, like insane penetration. Penetration numbers are kind of bonkers. Sure, it is the case. It's citadeling battleships. You can depth strike even cruisers sometimes. Everything really works well when broadsiding players towards you. But the moment they don't, your survivability is zero. What you will do against a battleship like the Wisconsin or the Bungo or any other battleship that I put it into the A or A plus tier, you will struggle. You will 110% struggle. The only thing that you will do well is punching broadsides. Otherwise, you are worse compared to many other battleships. You do have 32mm plating. You don't, by the way, having extra heals. You don't have 5 heals in total. Even though I have built it fully with the tankiness, I might get 5 heal with the help of improved repair party readiness. Sure, that's the case. But even then, you don't get extra heals that you would like to get. It does have less heal. Yes, you can also say that for the Kremlin as well. But even then, it's a standard battleship. Yes, having Russian style things going for it like the guns. But even then, lack of HP, lack of armor plating, lack of ability to push, and sometimes you want to push, you want to win games to push, right? You cannot snipe all the time. I love Slava. It snipes really well. It can sometimes do maybe upwards of 250k damage or 300k damage if you get enough broadsides. But how many games you can have that consistency? Probably not a whole lot, because if there are good players, they will never let you show broadside. But considering this player base is then it's kind of worth it because of that. And I would like to put it into a very strong ship, but I won't do that. I'm gonna be realistic here. I'm gonna be realistic. If you want to have a good Slava experience, not a bad one, because you buy it based on maybe my opinion that it just stupidly does damage, and at the end you will see you are doing nothing. Maybe some damage, good damage, but not that good damage that you find on other battleships. So it's struggle a whole lot, other than the really good guns on broadsides. That's it. Okay, yes, you can switch to HE. It does have something going for it, like a 40% fire chance, but again, it's all average. It's nothing like Bungo or Wisconsin, nothing like the FK, nothing like the Sibir or any secondaries. It's just a kiting, alright battleship, in my opinion. And I have to say, with these weaknesses, and don't get me wrong, good strengths, dopamine hitting levels of strengths, I still gonna put Slava into a very average, okay tier, in my opinion. For me, it kind of works fine in the B tier. That's what I have for Slava. Okay, so the next battleships are going to be the Germans. Now, in this case, I will going to rate both battleships at the same time and will explain both of them. One is the GK, the Grosser Kurfürst, and the other is the Preussen. One is, I would say, the freemium. You can get it for coal. Other is the tech tree. And if I really say about the Kurfürst, well, I don't know, man. I'm gonna put it into the C tier. For me, it's below average. And if I really talk about the Preussen, well, that can be okay. Where is that, by the way? Oh, there it is. And Preussen, I would say I'm going to put it into the A tier strong. Now, you might be thinking, Preussen and Kurfürst, why they have some difference in the tiers? Now, again, there is my personal bias. I believe that even though GK has 12 guns, these are only 406. So they don't overmatch cruisers. For me, that's a big deal, okay? The penetration numbers is also less. And the dispersion is okay with 1.8 sigma. Preussen, on the other hand, has only 8 guns, but really good reload time and overmatching, I would say 30mm cruiser plating. And also the shell velocity is pretty decent. Preussen, for me, seems to work well. It does have the same, I think, the gimmicks, like it does have the hydro. Both have, again, these are Germans. They have 6km hydro. I think both of them have the spotter plane. I will try to go and showcase these ships in the game itself to give you more idea. So there it is, the Preussen and the GK itself. Both have pretty much similar parameters. The guns, however, makes a huge difference. I find the 12 guns to be okay, but if I really have to rely on GK with the guns, then why I don't play Montana? Because Montana has better dispersion, and yes, you do have the secondaries, but it does also have better sigma parameter and the dispersion mod that you can slot at 6th number that you cannot do on GK. So GK relies on secondaries as well, so you cannot use main battery system mod 1. So the gun department, and that's where I focuses more. I do like the secondary battleships, don't get me wrong, but the secondaries are okay. I have kind of built it, I would say, better because I'm using the leg mod, which does improve the main battery reload time, secondary battery reload time a lot. The range can be, however, a bit low. Still usable if you are using the spotter plane, but honestly, even with these things, I find GK to be very rough. We do have the Sibir, we do have Valparaiso, we do have Libertad. Every single battleship that Wargaming coming up with, they know that the meta is that the heal should be such that it will have sort of a better cooldown time, and GK does not have any of that for brawling. It wants to brawl, but honestly it struggles because again, the same thing. I have talked about that in my previous chapters, that a good battleship player can if he utilizes all the heals, he's doing really well. And you want to do that on GK, but you struggle. You do have a holy moly, gigantic superstructure, right? You tend to eat torpedoes, even you do have the hydro. Yes, it does give you a lot of flexibility in pushing maybe the DDs if they are around the caps, trying to contest them, or I would say if they are dumb, that's what I can say, when they are fighting against GK. And getting rushed by a GK and a hydro is the worst thing a DD will do, and if he does that, yeah, sure, you can counter. But I would say the GK will have a really bad time because of how much survivability issues that it has. Does not have extra sort of a gimmicky heal like we see many of the battleships like Sibir or maybe the Valparaiso. Libertad does have improved, I would say, cooldown time of 60 seconds compared to the GK's 80. And then you don't have overmatch, and you do have like gigantic hull, 50mm armor pen. 50mm armor deck seems to be good, but it's not. You take a lot of damage from the broadside because it's a lot of thick plating, so every battleship AP will arm, do full damage. Even if you don't get Citadel, it still takes a lot of damage. Okay, and yeah, you get farmed a lot. Honestly, it's a rough, painful experience. You don't even have that speed. It's a weird ship. You have really gigantic sort of turning circle and rudder shift. And yeah, I talked about the guns. So GK is not really something that I would say is good enough, and I would say below average seems to be the right area when playing that ship. Now, in the case of, not the Hanover, if I really take a look at where's that ship? Preussen, yeah. If I really take a look at the Preussen, it's at least have better guns. That's what I have always felt. The gun reload time is staggering 21 seconds. You can get it to around 20 seconds, honestly. And sometimes, if you're using Gunther Lutens, which I would not gonna recommend on this ship, maybe on the Schlieffen, that makes sense. Maybe on the upcoming, or at least we do have this on early access, Prince Adalbert. Maybe you want to put the Gunther Lutens, the legendary captain, on it. But on Preussen, you want to do that. But again, if you may be able to consistently get a lot of shell hits, you might proc that main battery load time by getting 140. I don't exactly remember. Yeah, 140 shell hits, main battery shell hits. It's difficult, but I have done that for some reason, maybe 1 or 2 times. But it's difficult. I'm just gonna say that. But even then, you do have really good overmatching, good penetration guns that makes it way better than GK. Yes, problem is at long ranges, a cruiser's angle you struggle. Preussen will not, because it's overmatch, it's fast reload time. You can kind of also compare it with, I would say, a German Republic. That's what I would literally say, because Republic also have like 8 guns. The Preussen also have 8 guns, also have the same overmatching capability, but also the fast reload time. So I kind of rate it that way. Secondaries are okay. And that's why I have to put it at least slightly better than Kurfurst. And even because of this overmatch, which cruisers hate, I'm gonna put it for sure in a strong category, without a doubt. Like 457. Honestly, when I see that caliber, I find it very difficult to rate. I would say average or below average. It has to be strong, because then you overmatch Des Moines and many other cruisers that you maybe struggle a bit in Kurfürst, but you will not in at least the Preussen. So for me, it still have the same weaknesses. Don't get me wrong. All the problems that Kurfürst have, Preussen have, but just simply solely because of that guns improvement with 457 millimeter. You can now play it at long ranges and still be a bit comfortable, unless then you come into the mid game, and then in maybe the last few minutes of the game where then you push. So it will struggle a bit more. The Kurfürst will struggle a bit more in the start of the game, but Preussen will not, because you can snipe and then later on you will do better. So Preussen is definitely worthy, a bit better for sure than the Kurfürst itself. And that's why, because of that gun caliber, I'm not gonna put it here. I really doubt that Preussen can be here, beat here. Yes, the only reason why Shikishima exists here, even though you might think it even overmatches 32mm, because then Satsuma exists, solely because of that. Otherwise, Shikishima easily in a 8 here. Okay, so the next ship is going to be I think it's the Mecklenburg. Yes, Mecklenburg. Oh boy. Again, I believe that Mecklenburg is a really good battleship. You kind of say about the Mecklenburg that it's a German Rhode Island, or I would say maybe the German Bourgogne, something like that. Now, I absolutely freaking love Mecklenburg. Yes, you don't get the gimmicks like the Sibir, or maybe you find it on the Rhode Island, or maybe on the Bungo with the spotter. But it's just a good all-round 16-gun platform that I love because of the accuracy, and still retains the tankiness. Okay, Preussen and Kurfürst struggles. They don't have really good accuracy, but for some reason they come up with a ton of guns, cruiser caliber guns, battle cruiser caliber guns, 16 of them as well, and they give it a battle cruiser dispersion with 2.05 sigma. Let me just show you quickly in the board. Well, so there it is, the Mecklenburg. Again, I kind of have to say the same thing. Like the Rhode Island, it does not have the speed, sure. And I have to really compare it, because Mecklenburg comes with its German flavors. Only thing that it does not have, like you find on Germans, is that it does not have hydro, which is a big unfortunate. Honestly, if Mecklenburg gets the hydro, it becomes pretty damn strong. Like, now I could have easily put it into the middle of S tier, or maybe in the middle of like very strong, but I can't because it does not have hydro. That's a big downside, but these guns are love. And then on top of that, these guns are great, really good reload time. You can always switch to HE and set fires, even though the HE is mediocre. You do have 27% fire chance, 26% fire chance. Oh, give me a second. My mic accidentally fall out. Just give me a second, guys. So I was saying that it's really good. Really good range. You do have the spotter, but if you hate CVs, the same thing. Like with the Vermont, like with the Wisconsin, you do have fighter and defensive areas in different slots. So you basically can screw CV for sure. You can actually able to defend yourself against carriers if you are using both of these at the same time. I can tell you he will take massive hit on its reserve for sure. If he's using full, I would say, squadron, then he will have a full dent. Especially like the case of the FDR. If he comes and try to drop you, the planes are sluggish. Most players will be having tons of issue against Mecklenburg in a CV. And then the AP punches, you can absolutely wreck cruisers broadside. Honestly, the dispersion is so consistent at long ranges, and medium to short, obviously the dispersion will be even more cracked, that I must say it's a German Rhode Island. German, I would say it does have a German flavor if we compare it with Rhode Island. So HP pool 90,000. The only thing that Mecklenburg does not have is, I would say, the heals. fast cooldown on heal, so you have to play a bit safe. Rhode Island can maybe take more damage, but in the case of Mecklenburg, you will take no citadel damage. This is a huge advantage in my opinion. Yes, you can take a lot of penetration damage, but unlike Rhode Island, which can take a citadel damage, which cannot be healed back a lot, it will only get healed 10%, right? In the case of Mecklenburg, you will just take damage, but you will heal back a lot because you will heal 50% of the pen damage. You are not getting citadel in Mecklenburg. Now that is a big survivability difference compared to, I would say, the Rhode Island. And that's why, because of the survivability that you get with the broadside, if someone shoots you, you're not getting citadel like the Germans, and also the 50mm deck plating. Yes, you do have this gigantic superstructure. Again, you find it like the Kurfurst, or I would say the Preussen. That's the problem, but you can kite away and can farm damage, and you do not need to rely on secondaries to do that. And even if you are thinking to push, your armor is still German battleship like, right? Your guns will perform, your secondaries will also perform, and funny enough, even if you are not fully building it for secondaries, like in this case I have done that, I'm using the aiming system mod 1, your secondary range is still 11 kilometer, which is very good. And on top of that, if you're fully building it like this is a bit of a very risky build because you're not putting it on concealment and fire prevention, but I find it comfortable because at long ranges I DCP usually the fires and disengage for some time before shooting back so that no one can set permanent fire. That's why I want to just preserve my HP and save it for the late game, and that's where the heal, the extra heal that you can get, and that secondaries will just do wonders. And that's where you also, by the way, I'm not going to say it's worth it to use IFHE on Mecklenburg, because Mecklenburg also have 32mm pen. I mean, in this case, it's not worth using IFHE. You should use the grease the gears, but I'm using this captain on Pommern or any other battleship at lower tiers that definitely needs the IFHE. Even though you don't use it on Mecklenburg at all, it's not worth it at all because you pen 32mm plating without it. So you can do that as well, and your dispersion will still be good. So you can be secondary, you can be a very decent secondary battleship. Not like Kurfürst. Kurfürst does have extra more caliber secondary guns, and Preussen also have, but Mecklenburg still have the secondaries that you can apply at around 11 kilometer, and at the same time you still have really punchy HE because you're throwing so many shells. You will set fire and you will land so many shells, you will definitely gonna set fires. And then you AP broadside on a cruiser. Def striking is very easy, especially if it's a light cruiser, and even the heavy cruiser will take a huge beating. The penetration is good enough at 15 to maybe 18 kilometer that you citadel most cruisers, or at least you will do like 20-30k damage. Maybe even without citadeling them, you can do so much damage to battleships. So Mecklenburg is a very, very powerful battleship. I absolutely love it. The only weakness that I find it is that you don't have the newest generation things like the heal, like you find on Sibir. Yeah, by the way, I haven't even talked about the torpedoes. Unlike Preussen and Kurfürst, you do have the torps. So if you somehow manage to push onto a battleship, like if there's a battleship behind the island and he's suddenly pushing you and maybe trying to ram you, because most of the time what happens, a battleship will try to fight you if you have a lot of HP and he has less HP, he will try to ram you. That's where Mecklenburg also gets one more value, torpedoes. You get 4 torpedoes. If he has 30,000 HP, you will kill him with 4 torpedoes. You do have torpedoes, you do have enough damage with 4 torpedoes on each side that you kill a battleship that is pushing you. So your broadside, he won't citadel you because again, you do not citadel in a turtleback armor, and you basically smash him with these torpedoes. And that's why the guns are extremely consistent, and you can kind of say that the Rhode Island does have speed and improved pen angles on AP and a couple of other things going for it. The Mecklenburg has armor and also the torpedoes and the secondaries, kind of like that, and the good range going for it, right? And that's why I have to put it into a very strong, kind of like the Rhode Island in a different way. Yes, you don't have the radar, but still, it's a very different version of the same feeling that you get on Rhode Island, but instead you're getting it on the Mecklenburg. Basically, the Rhode Island that you get on Germans is the Mecklenburg. That's what I have to say. In a different way. You don't have access to that speed, but it's still very, very good. Tanky enough to deal a lot of things and secondaries as well. And well, that's why Mecklenburg, in my opinion, is a very, very good ship. I absolutely love it. It's way better than Preussen and Kurfurst for sure. Alright, so the next German battleship again is going to be the Schlieffen at tier 10, Tech Tree 1. I'm going to put the Schlieffen in, I would say, a strong battleship. Now you might be thinking, why Schlieffen is in a A tier strong? Well, couple of reasons which I will explain right now. If I go to the Schlieffen itself, you will see here, well, Schlieffen has really amazing secondaries. Secondaries do a ton of damage. The gimmick of this battle cruiser, you would say, that it does have a lot of secondaries with insane reload time. I mean, if the cruiser or destroyer or anything comes into the secondaries of Schlieffen, they just rain. Like, you will see a barrage of shells, secondary shells coming towards you, and they just ham on you. Literally, it's like a couple of cruisers trying to ham you with the help of you playing Schlieffen, except that you are playing it with the Schlieffen secondaries, not the cruisers itself. But it kind of like that the light cruisers are just throwing rain of HE shells at you, and Schlieffen kind of does that. It's tons of secondaries, do pretty decent damage. You do have improved pen, 32mm pen with IFHE, as well as secondary battery does have a good penetration capacity. But if you do not build for it, if you do not build for IFHE, you still be very powerful, because you do have 150mm guns. They actually pen 38mm pen. I mean, I do have improved it with the help of IFHE, but you do not need it. You still have enough to do penetration to American ships, right? If I'm not wrong, these should have 38mm pen. If it does that, I mean, then you kind of see that American ships will take damage from these. It's not like the Libertad, I must say, but it's having a lot of, I would say, secondaries that you are throwing onto a ship. Libertad has quality secondaries. Schlieffen has somewhat decent quantity and also the quality as well. I'm not going to say somewhat decent quality, but also the quality as well. I don't know what I have said here. I'm sorry, guys. After making the video for a long time, I just messed up saying this, so I really apologize. But what I really meant by that you do have really good secondaries, not like the Libertad, but it's still pretty good. But you throw a lot, way more than Libertad. That's, I would like to say. You do have battlecruiser guns, battlecruiser dispersion, 1.7 Sigma, if I'm not wrong. Really good reload time, so the guns are good. You can actually smash broadside cruisers. They do pretty well, but these don't overmatch. But that's not the gimmick of the Schlieffen. Schlieffen gimmick is the secondaries and also the torpedoes. And after they have buffed it, you might think, oh, they have buffed the Schlieffen torpedoes, right? They just don't permanently die. You should put the Schlieffen into the, I would say, very strong tier. Well, I kind of disagree with that. Even though it does have really good guns, okay? Really, I would say almost broken secondaries if they keep launching onto a target, especially if you have the Gunterlutens, it kind of becomes a bit broken. And then you do have the torpedoes as well at close ranges, and even if you are throwing it at long ranges, they actually hit. It's because it does have really good reaction time, relatively decent reaction time. I'm not going to say it's really good, but Japanese torpedo destroyers like reaction time, which again is good against battleships. Most battleships will eat these torpedoes if they don't have hydro. So you can even kite and send these torpedoes with a very decent concealment of 12.6. And also the decent speed. It's good in these regard, or in these numbers. But the problem is, and the only reason why I cannot put it into a very strong or even broken, is simply that its staying power under a heavy fire, heavy focus fire, unlike Sibir, or maybe the Valparaiso, or sometimes even the Libertad, this armor will definitely gonna be lacking. Because you do have now 27mm plating. Someone can shoot on this upper belt if you are pushing in and can give you a massive damage. And many battleships can overmatch this armor. Okay, it's not 25 like Bungo, or Slava, but it's still 27, can be overmatched by tons of battleships. You do have a lot of armor, and also the biggest, and I would say kind of makes it not too very strong, is that it does have a vulnerable citadel. If you broadside in a Schlieffen, unlike I would say the Preussen, the Kurfurst, or even the Mecklenburg, you actually going to get Citadel in the ship. So it does not have that really good turtle bag, or I would say a turtle bag in general, which will perform well, right? It does not have that thing going for it. And that's where Schlieffen will struggle. Okay, the guns will do fine, the secondaries are amazing, you do have the 5.5 kilometer hydro, slightly worse than Germans, like in the case of Preussen and Kurfürst, but it's still fine. But even then, the survivability issues are there. You do have limited DCPs, and also your heal has a 76 seconds of cooldown time. Problem is with the Schlieffen, sometimes what happens, lack of heals, like in this case, I think I'm using the emergency repair expert, and even then you do have less heal. You don't have 5 heals. So less heal than standard battleships. You heal normal, your cooldown time is high, your armor is a bit vulnerable to broadside and also from the bow and stern, and also you do have the superstructure, like with all the Germans. You tend to take a lot of damage, and you take, even though you are trying to farm really high damage with your secondaries, your staying power is not enough. That's what I have always felt when I have played Schlieffen. And that's why, because of this, I have to put it, back, not into the very strong category. That's because of the survivability. They don't have the gimmicks like you find on Wisconsin, or the F keys that you find on Sibir, or anything like that, or maybe the time-based heal that Wargaming kind of realizes that a battleship needs in this meta, because it does not have a staying power during push. And Schlieffen also suffers from that same fate. And that's why, in my opinion, Schlieffen seems to be A tier, strong enough, but only get backed, or I would say have this downside, big downside of not having enough survivability or staying power that you might find on Sibir, or even in Ohio, or in the case Wisconsin. Alright, so the next battleships, I will gonna talk about both ships at the same time, and now that's gonna be the Conqueror and the Thunder. Now, Conqueror, honestly, I want to put it into the A+ tier. It's actually very strong, to be honest. It's very strong ship, but the problem is with the Conqueror that if you want to push, okay, and you want to have a lot of offensive power, which it does have. HE is pretty toxic in Conqueror, without a doubt, okay? Sometimes it's not exactly like that. Like Sibir does have overmatch, Conqueror does not have. It does have a super heal, it's having the staying power, but it does have a long cooldown time of 80 seconds. So the pushing power of Conqueror is less. You want to survive or want to take a lot of damage as much as possible. The Conqueror A+ tier, it wants to get into the A+ tier, and it only will be if you are trying to soak damage from every battleship or cruiser shooting at you, and you are taking a lot of damage for instead of your team taking damage. Instead of your team taking damage. Yes. If you do that, if you're able to burn through a lot of heals successfully, which I would say in the theoretical scenario, you might say, yeah, it is possible, but actual scenario, sometimes it does not happen. Yes, but if you manage to do that, if you are trying to really make yourself something like an attractive thing in Conqueror, everyone shoots you and you are utilizing your super heals and not eating citadels at the same time and shooting them back with your guns, it can be A+ tier. But I assume a lot of players won't be able to do that. It's difficult to execute this. What I have said, this is a case. If you can do this on Conqueror, amazing. If you won't, I cannot say it's gonna be in the A+. Then it's gonna be in A tier. Strong. Not very strong, but strong. Because the problem is, Conqueror have a long cooldown time of 80 seconds. It's not like the Ohio's 40, otherwise it would be actually somewhat broken, because you just super heal quickly, and then you do have so many heals, right? If I can show you quickly in the port here. So as you can see, the Conqueror here, HE is pretty disgusting, there's no doubt about that. Really good reload time. You do have 12 guns, but not having the best of the dispersion. Dispersion at long ranges can be just okay. I'm not super impressed by that, especially when we do have a St. Vincent that have battlecruiser dispersion, and overall a bit, I must say, better Sigma value, or the dispersion value compared to the Conqueror. And even St. Vincent does have the super heals. Conqueror seems to be really good under the situation that I have explained. The thing about the Conqueror is if, and here's the very if thing, if you're using the Andrew Cunningham, and if you get if you get 2 kills in the case of Conqueror with Andrew Cunningham, you get extra heal. Okay, so you get extra heal, you get 5 heals. And again, if you are getting, I would say, 2 million potential, which is 100% possible in Conqueror, you get extra heal once again. If you're able to do that and you soak so much damage, then Conqueror can be very strong, because you are diverting the attention of the enemy team, and that is where Conqueror shines a lot. It kind of gives a lot of other teammates to push and to basically counter the enemy team while you trying to soak damage a lot. Otherwise, it's just an HE farmer that does not even have overmatch. You do have the guns, you do have really good fire chance, you absolutely kicks nut of the battleship if you are trying to set fires upon fires by shooting him constantly. But they can heal back, they can turn out and kite away if it's a good battleship player, and even then you do have a very vulnerable sort of citadel. So if you are not realizing the citadel of the Conqueror, you can be actually farmed by any high penetration AP battleship volley, and that can actually gimp your super heal badly. Like, then you won't be able to heal 75% of the penetration damage, which is insanely impressive, I must say. That 75% of the penetration damage means you can actually utilize all the heals with fires and floods and pen damage pretty much almost every single time, unless you are taking a citadel damage. And one citadel damage can really gimp your whole gimmick. Like, it really makes you suffer after one citadel damage from a big battleship volley. If you really covers those if situations correctly, then it's a very strong. Otherwise, in my opinion, it has to go into the A strong category. Good HE farmer, and you can also use broadside on cruisers. It does have, I think, the short fuse AP, so you know the light cruisers will take huge damage, have very easy chance of getting them citadel. So that is some advantage. Really good concealment, you can say, as an advantage, but you need that because you want to disengage if you are taking so much damage. And pushing can be a rough thing, unless you are using, if you maybe have 1 or 2 heal and you have tanked like 3 million potential, and then your cooldown time of the heal is like 50 seconds. Then maybe you can push, because you can just super heal very quickly. You get to the levels of the Ohio in terms of the cooldown time. Very close, but it's not like super close. 40 versus 50 is still a bit far, but it's close enough. Then you can push with the remaining 1-2 super heal. So again, a lot of ifs and cases that I'm talking about in Conqueror to make it really work and actually have some game impact. So that is something about the Conqueror. Now in the case of Thunderer, Thunderer is more offensive than Conqueror, but not super defensive in terms of the survivability. Okay, so let me put the Thunderer here. No, it's not D tier. I'm gonna put it to the Thunderer to be A+ tier, very strong. Now, unlike Thunderer, it does hit way more hard. It does have way more accuracy, which I will show you right now in the port. So as you can see, the Thunderer. Now, here's the very important thing. You now have access to really good reload time of 22.9 seconds with 457mm guns and battlecruiser dispersion, and I think 1.9 Sigma, which is kind of pretty nuts to give it for this ship that has 8,200 alpha damage with 63% fire chance. These guns are, without a shadow of doubt, disgusting and having more oppressive capabilities than Conqueror. You land more shells, even though these are only 8 of them. You do hit hard. You can switch to HE. You can switch to HE if you want to against battleships. And then you set fires kind of like the Conqueror, kind of like exactly the same damage numbers that you can pump out. In the case of Conqueror, if you are landing 6 shell hits, because again your dispersion is not like really good. But in the case of Thunder, you will land maybe 5 or 6 shell hits, or maybe 4 or 5 shell hits, which kind of has the same damage output like the Conqueror, but then you do have access to better fire chance and better AP performance than Conqueror itself. And then you don't have short fuse AP, so if you switch to AP and trying to shoot at the broadside battleship, you can actually citadel them. Meanwhile, in the case of Conqueror, you can citadel battleships, but you do have the short fuse AP, which arms a bit quickly and does not land to that citadel area where it will lead you to get that citadel hit because of that short fuse, which Thunder does not have this issue. So yes, you might overpen cruisers at maybe mid to close range if there is a ship like Smolensk. Maybe the Conqueror does not. That's sort of the advantage Conqueror has. But Thunder still is way more oppressive, I would say way more toxic, because the ability to land so many shells onto a target with this insane alpha, and also you can switch to AP to overmatch cruisers, that is good, like actually crazy. And if we talk about the maneuverability, it basically has cruiser level of rudder shift time, okay? It has a Conqueror leg mod built into the Thunderer without applying the leg mod itself, which is kind of funny, right? Like Conqueror, for example, has to trade its concealment for getting better rudder shift. If I'm using the enhanced engineering systems, it does improve the rudder shift time, which kind of makes it 10.4 seconds, and a couple of other things. But Thunder has built in the Conqueror's leg mod. So yeah, that kind of tells you a lot why I have to rate it into very strong. These guns are disgustingly, or I would say insane. Okay, you do have less range, but this range is very comfortable considering that you still have 12.3 kilometer. Your speed is pretty good. The turning circle is pretty much the same. Maybe there might be difference, but it's roughly the same. But one thing that Conqueror does have way better is that it does not have this soaking power. The Conqueror has super heals, whereas Thunderer has improved heal and also have extra heal, which in the case of Conqueror you do have 4, in the Thunder you do have 5. And if I give you the math, Conqueror with 6 heals, including the heal of Andrew Cunningham talent and the improved repair party readiness talent, if you just add those 2 heals in the Conqueror and Thunder, in the Thunder you get 7 heals, in the Conqueror you get 6 heals. Thunder will have almost 140, or I would say 137k HP heal fully with the help of 7 heals in the case of Thunder, and Conqueror has double the healing potential. So yeah, Conqueror can heal 285,000 HP if you use all the heals. In the case of Thunder, it's half. So that is the massive advantage that Conqueror has. Survivability is the massive advantage, but here comes one thing. Thunder does have improved cooldown time on the heals. Now that really makes it sort of a bit valuable in pushing in, but I mean, Conqueror super heal is still pretty nuts, without a doubt. Thunder definitely lags a bit, I must say. Also, you do have defensive fire, but problem is with the anti-defense numbers that Thunder has, it's not even, like, I would say comparable. I'm not gonna say comparable. It's actually okay anti-defense numbers, but the numbers itself are above average. And with the defensive fire, it's just gonna get slightly above average. So yeah, it's an okay thing to have in Thunder. Definitely better than Conqueror by a lot of margin. And by the way, Conqueror does get the buff by CVs not use the citadel damage with torps, which definitely helps Conqueror a lot. But the Thunder also have one more thing which Conqueror does not. I have talked about the Conqueror that its heal got really gimped, or I would say not exactly that you like to see. In the case of Thunderer, you have 33% citadel damage heal. Conquerors only have 10%, which means if the battleship's trying to get the citadel on you, you can still utilize all the heals. In the case of Conqueror, you start to struggle healing full and utilize all the heals. So this is a good advantage to Thunder without a shadow of doubt. And also the oppression that you can have with the guns is definitely better than Conqueror. And in my opinion, in most games you cannot do the same thing which I would like to see, soaking damage in a Conqueror, which is a sort of, maybe some cases you can do that, but in the case of Thunder, the guns will just perform better, and it's still gonna perform better overall than Conqueror, and with these heals, you will still do a great job. That's what I have felt. That's what I would definitely say about the Thunder, and hence the reason why I will rate Thunderer better, because it still heals pretty decent, okay? But Conqueror is still not bad, to be honest. It's still pretty good. Toxic, but Thunder can be more toxic. Very powerful, in my opinion. So that is what it is. Okay, so the next ship is going to be the St. Vincent. And in my personal opinion, I will gonna rate the St. Vincent to be pretty much very strong. Very strong ship in my personal opinion. Okay, St. Vincent is kind of like that you get a tech tree Thunderer, except that it does have a couple of things other than Thunderer going for it, which I will explain you right now in the port. Okay, so now St. Vincent, in my opinion, is kind of like the sandwich, or I would say it has the characteristics of Thunderer, but also some of the characteristics of the Conqueror, and also some of its own gimmicks, which I will explain. Like, for example, in the case of Thunder, you in a St. Vincent get 457mm guns, overmatching cruisers, making their life really hard. And on top of that, you still have really good HE shells, and you kind of say it very comparable to like of Conqueror, because they have kind of not make them broken in such a way, because if they give 457mm guns on St. Vincent, Thunder like HE shells, then why would anyone think of playing Thunder? So they come up with 7.1k alpha, which again kind of rivals to that of Conqueror. Conqueror does have, I would say, pretty much similar alpha, but in the case of St. Vincent, it gets the alpha of Conqueror, but the fire chance of Thunder. Kind of funny, right? And also, if we take a look at the armor, it's kind of different. As you can see, you do have 40mm deck armor, which actually shatters a lot of HE shells of, I would say, most cruisers in the game. You do have the bow of 25mm since it's a battle cruiser, so it's unlike Thunder and Conqueror. You will definitely gonna be having a bit of a problem when you're pushing it. Pushing in this ship, you will definitely gonna take damage from here. But however, the St. Vincent does have the Conqueror super heal capability in a very different way. Conqueror gets 75% of the healing, penetration healing, okay, of the damage. In the case of St. Vincent, I think it's only 50%. But the super heal is still a super heal, and if you're taking a lot of fires and flood damage, you can just super heal back. All of that, for sure. In the case of Thunder, if you're, I would say, super healing the fires and floods, right, then you are kind of sort of wasting that heal that you want to use on only the penetration damage. In the case of St. Vincent and Conqueror, they can just easily heal full fire and flood damage. That is something which it gets from the Conqueror. But however, unlike Conqueror and Thunderer, it does have very powerful thing going for it. And I would say it's a meta-defining thing, and something that I'm gonna see more in future. And that is, you do have access to speed boost, and you also have access to really good speed. Base speed of 34.1 knots. So using Brisk, really good base speed, and the speed boost, you can get it to around almost 39 or 40 knots, maybe 38, 39 knots, which helps a ton in repositioning. So Thunder, Conqueror definitely looks at you and they will be saying, I wish I would also have the engine boost, which they don't. And then you do also have the same thing. The concealment numbers are pretty good, slightly worse than Conqueror and Thunder, but honestly 13.1 is still pretty good. So these things, with really good guns, you have the mix of Conqueror and Thunder, and also one more funny thing, that is Torpedo, which by the way deal 29,000 damage, and you can send one torpedo from either the left or the right. And if something is pushing you and thinking of maybe, I would say, ramming you, these torpedoes will just do wonder. Like 29k torpedo damage, which means if a battleship have maybe less than 20,000 HP, he will die without ramming you. So yeah, that's a huge advantage. And these torpedoes, you can even launch them at maybe quite far back if you are pushing into another ship, because you do have range and you do have enough range, and for some reason you do also have a really good reload time of 45 seconds. So you basically send the torpedo like preemptively if something is pushing you, and then you will have another torpedo loaded in 45 seconds, and if the battleship comes very close to you, then you will have another torpedo ready, and he might eat the first preemptive torpedo, and then you will do the second torpedo when he's very close. So I hope you get the point. That 45 seconds of reload time in the torpedo can be very valuable, and that torpedo itself can be very valuable, because the torpedo has pretty easy to basically throw the torpedo from the bow. You can throw the torpedo from the bow easy, and you will have a very, very high chance of landing it, making it very, very interesting battleship for sure. And in my personal opinion, with the guns, and by the way, I haven't talked about how good the guns are, battle cruiser dispersion, again the same thing that it has going for it. It does have thunder penetration with 457mm guns, but it has short fuse AP that you find on Conqueror. It's a mix of Thunder and Conqueror, and you find it on a tech tree battleship. That is really nice. So you can get the feel of Thunder in many ways, and having the battle cruiser dispersion, I think with 1.6 or 1.7 sigma, 1.6 sigma I'm assuming, I don't exactly remember the parameter, but anything that is above or around 1.6 sigma with the battle cruiser dispersion is very, very good, very, very decently accurate. So with this, all gimmicks and a super heal, I must say, and the speed and the defensive fire, which again, definitely something that they have taken from the Thunderer, and then they put the heal, the speed boost, really makes it interesting. And I must say, I like this blend of the both battleships, and it actually makes it very, very strong battleship as well. Apart from the Citadel that can be sometimes, although its Citadel is trollish, I have seen most of the time, I mean, you can be Citadel, but it's a bit trollish. You can be Citadel for sure, but I have seen that sometimes you don't. In the case of Thunder and Conqueror, you get a lot more. And the bow is obviously the weakness, and that's why I cannot put it into the broken. Otherwise, it's very, very strong in my opinion. And that's why you can see here, it's a very good A+ tier, very strong battleship that can also give you the feel of Thunder with Conqueror as well. Okay, now we get to the Incomparable. Okay, now that can be a bit wild. And yeah, again, I have some personal bias for it. And honestly, Incomparable, I'm going to put it into the A tier. I know some people will disagree with that. Some people will say it has to be very strong. It's actually very strong. It does have overmatch. It can overmatch 32mm plating. It does have a hydro. It does have a speed boost. It does have many things. I agree. I agree with a lot of things. And it does also have the super heal. You can really relate it with St. Vincent. It's kind of like a different version of St. Vincent, but even then, I think that Incomparable armor profile and the healing thing it's fine. The healing can work. It does have a hydro. It does have the speed boost. You can really relate to St. Vincent, and you do have 6 guns, 508mm. So they punch pretty, and I think it's the best of the class concealment. Like Incomparable has a couple of things going for it. The speed, I think maybe very few of the battleships that have access to hydro. So you tend to eat pretty much, or at least able to protect yourself from torpedoes, except you maybe eat them from the bow, even though you are a very long ship. And also the good thing about the Incomparable is, as of right now, I used to not like it, but they have come up with the CV spotting changes, and they make the torpedo such, aerial torpedo such that they cannot do Citadel damage, which actually Incomparable needs, because unlike Thunderer, it can only heal 10% of the Cit damage. So kind of like the Conqueror in that way. So you do have super heals. Okay, you do have really punchy guns, you do have amazing concealment, but even on top of that, I don't like the broadside, and for me the 6 guns in Incomparable does not work. The problem with the Incomparable also is that it does also not have range. Range is only, I think, 17.6 kilometer, man. With the spotter you can get it to 20 kilometer. For me, the two things are heartbreaking, that just limiting it to strong, not very strong, and that is the range. Range is very limited for me. The 6 guns, even though it has 2.0 sigma with the battle cruiser dispersion, kind of makes it very good even over the Satsuma, because Satsuma, not the Satsuma, the Shikishima, you can really compare it with 6 guns Shikishima, and you might say that it should have a better dispersion than the Shikishima itself, but even then, I just do find the guns to be trolley, and that's why the Incomparable just does not suit well. Again, this has the personal bias of mine kicked in this. I do not want to put it into AST. I like St. Vincent more than Incomparable. Yes, you do also have the torpedoes, 4 of them, so kind of have the same feel of the St. Vincent in that way, But even then, the guns, you do have punchy, you do also have the overmatch, and you also have like insane alpha, like slightly better than the Shikishima's alpha. So it does have that thing going for it. But even then, no, for me it's not very strong. It does have a tier 7 level of broadside armor. Like if you broadside in this ship, you are guaranteed to eat a lot of citadels. And even the Mecklenburg has a good chance at around 10 to 12 kilometer to citadel you. Even I would say Stalingrad has like really good chance. Stalin, Petro can citadel you at broadside at maybe 13-14 kilometers. Many cruisers that has good penetration. The Rhode Island, like having 357, they can actually citadel you at ranges. The cruisers now also do that. So it takes damage. And the range is the biggest problem with the range and 6-gun platform. It just does not work for me. So for me, Incomparable is S tier. That's what I have to say about this ship. Even though it does have like really good concealment, and you can basically flank and you just surprise a cruiser. Sure, you can do that, but in carrier games, you cannot do that surprising factor. Sometimes you will be spotted from the carriers for a lot of time. So in a carrier game, it gets the less value. Maybe in a non-carrier game, maybe I can put it into A+, but even then I will not. And that's my personal bias going for Incomparable. Okay, so the next battleship is gonna be French, the Bourgogne. I mean, Bourgogne is one of the unfortunate battleship in this game that I have seen from my own eyes getting power crept. Like seriously, this guy get power crept pretty clearly. There might be some ships that have these lines blurred. For example, maybe the Kremlin, you can argue that it does still good. It does still perform well, like when you compare it with Sibir, and maybe a couple of other battleships. Maybe you can argue with that. But Bourgogne, it used to be very strong, and maybe when it got released, it used to be actually pretty insane, like almost broken. But the power creep gets so hard with the introduction of Wisconsin, with having the reload booster, the Bungo, the Colombo, and you not having that good armor at all. The French problem with the armor scheme. Yes, you don't tend to get citadel, but even then, that power creep is so fucking real. Unfortunately, that's the case. So I would say the Bourgogne, I'm gonna put it into the A tier. If you ask me, maybe 2 years ago, when there is no Bungo maybe exists, the Wisconsin, maybe there might be Thunder, maybe St.Vincent does not exist, maybe there might be Ohio, maybe not Rhode Island. When these ships does not exist, like the Mecklenburg does not exist, I would even argue that Mecklenburg overall sort of performs better than Bourgogne in many other areas. That's what I felt. Now, here's one thing about the Bourgogne. If you can use the main battery reload booster, again, there's if. It's kind of like the Conqueror. I have talked about many ifs in the Conqueror that can make it to A+ tier. The same case is with the Bourgogne. If you utilize all the main battery load booster, okay, if you utilize your speed properly and angle against enemy ships and trying to speed juke with the help of the Bourgogne armor, and doing that devastating damage to broadside cruisers or even destroyers with the help of reload booster, under these circumstances, if you utilize that perfectly, okay, this is very much of a if thing. If you utilize that reload booster under these circumstances perfectly, I might put it to A+ tier. But the reason why Bourgogne can't, first of all, these are 380mm guns, okay? You do not get overmatch. Yes, you do have 25mm overmatch, okay, which does help a lot compared to, I would say, the Mecklenburg. But Mecklenburg has consistency. The guns have battlecruiser dispersion with 2.05 sigma versus Bourgogne's only battleship dispersion and 1.8 sigma. So you don't have the overmatching power. Yes, you do throw a lot, but your dispersion is still not like really good like you find on Mecklenburg or maybe the Ohio or maybe the Rhode Island, for example. Like Rhode Island also get 12 guns, okay, and also have really good reload time. Bourgogne also have it, but you have to utilize maximum that main battery load booster to make it maybe into the A+ tier in that regard. But most of the time it struggles against other battleship. For example, Louisiana, it will spot you, it will drop those bombs, it will do devastating damage, it can do a lot of harm to you as well. It can actually fight against Bourgogne. Like for example, if it's not a good player, obviously Bourgogne wins. Any good player that knows how to play Bourgogne wins for sure, but any good player on the other battleship does have some advantage. For example, Rhode Island versus Bourgogne. Bourgogne does not have overmatch over Rhode Island. Rhode Island can simply push at you. You cannot smash him with AP. AP will bounce with with him having 27mm bow plating. And meanwhile, he does have improved pan angles. If you are trying to use the guns, all of them in Bourgogne, Rhode Island can use AP. And if you even misposition or misalign your, I would say, angle, if you do not angle enough, Rhode Island with improved pan angle can absolutely punch you. You can also do that with reload booster. But again, your reliance on reload booster will be so much high. That is so crucial to make it A+ tier. Otherwise, every single ship above, like the Ohio, it will do better. Mecklenburg, it will do better. Again, you have secondaries that pen 32mm, kind of makes Bourgogne cry as well. Bourgogne also built it for secondaries, but the secondaries are not like, they don't have that dispersion going for it. And you do not want to build it for secondaries because you want to have more captain skills for heal and all the other stuff. So yeah, that's a problem. St. Vincent, Thunder, so even Thunder can fight against you. Like Bourgogne versus Thunder, what do you think, who will win? I have to say Thunder. It will just wreck you with the HE and it also smash you with AP. Yes, you do have the resistance to get Citadel and you can also Citadel them. But it's still relying on the main battery load booster and nothing else really going for it for Bourgogne. Everything else have so many gimmicks like Sibir secondaries, Mecklenburg even with secondaries and guns, St. Vincent with top and guns, that Bourgogne seems 100%, in my opinion, 100% a good damage farmer, but power crapped. Not gonna lie, man. I'm not joking when I'm saying it's getting power crapped. It is 110% power crapped. You are so reliant on that reload booster now. If you make it work, if you want to make it work. Otherwise, you play any other battleship and you will be doing as good as Bourgogne, honestly. So that's why, I mean, Bourgogne is like not exactly to be very strong as of right now. And I mean, the 32mm armor plating definitely hits it back. Like all the other battleship does have something else. Like for example, the Rhode Island has 38. So at least you will be resistant to your overmatch. Like Bourgogne takes huge damage from the Yamatos and Satsumas and Shikishimas. Or other ships does have heal. Mecklenburg also have like really good armor. So Bourgogne does have like that issue with the armor plating as well. That's why, I'm not gonna lie, it has to go into the A tier, without a doubt. It's a strong ship, but I cannot put it here. Very difficult to put them in this category. The only exception might be the Bungo. Bungo is the only exception, but it has like exceptional guns, exceptional overmatching guns on battleships with setting fires and really killing cruisers. Bourgogne does not have that exceptional guns. So that's why Bourgogne pretty much there. Okay, so now it's time for Republic. And if you take a look at the Republic, where it is, let me show you that. Okay, there it is, the Republic. Let me just put it here. Republic will go again, and I have to say again, the problem with all the friendships right now is the armor plating. And even though Republic does have now overmatching 30mm plating on cruisers, and they have recently buffed that Sigma parameter, well, it does not have that reload booster. Bourgogne makes it pretty good at this strong tier in the main battery reload booster. It relies on that a lot, and the speed as well. Yes, Republic also have not bad speed, but it is definitely lagging compared to the Bourgogne. But Republic does have now overmatching guns. But it's the same case with the Preussen. The Republic can be now played like Preussen at long range. Preussen wants to play at medium to close range to use secondaries at late stages of the game. But Republic can play at long ranges, but sometimes you have to push. Well, you cannot do sort of that which you can do in the Preussen. So it's kind of like in this realm of the Preussen with 21.1 seconds of reload time. So the reload time is really good. And also you do get the overmatch like Preussen, but the problem is the armor. And you do have the speed boost, but not really exactly like the Bourgogne speed. But it's still good. I don't mind. The speed is kind of still up to the meta. Honestly, with the speed boost, you will be fine. But it also, one thing that you have to know, that it does not have that engine boost. Okay, you do have the 31.95 knots of speed. If you use the brisk, you can get it to around 34 knots. With the speed boost, you can get it to 36, 37 knots, which is good. Again, sort of valuable, and you need that speed. And you do have the overmatch, but you don't have that armor, man. That armor absolutely struggles, man. 32mm plating, man. Utrecht. I haven't talked about like how ridiculous Utrecht can be. Utrecht, the Goudenleeuw, the Prins van Oranje. So many airstrike cruisers and battleships from Dutch. They kind of power creeping Republic and Bourgogne hard. At least in this case, they can just full pen you. And then they set fires and you do not even have the super heal. That Conqueror and Thunder, they do have improved healing. They can heal back a bit more. They have Andrew Cunningham, which actually helps a lot and give more healing power. Republic does not have that. It does have a bit different thing. If you are using the Flip Abonio, which is the legendary captain, you do get the value from the dev striking ships. Okay, and maybe if you capture a cap, okay, a capture point, you get extra fire chance, 1%. So I mean, it's not amazing. Yes, you do, by the way, get the extra speed if you farm 2 million potential damage. Like in this case, I will show you here. Maybe you just need to know that. Like for example, you can see here 2 million potential, 8% speed boost. You can, if you were using this on Republic, sure, you get extra speed as well. And your AP and dispersion gets a lot better because of the Sigma parameter. But the armor really makes it difficult. And it does not have anything special going for it. Like if you want to push in, you will be farmed so quickly from the ships behind the islands. It's not even funny. Like for example, I mean, what can I say, man? Goudenleeuws and Utrechts will just harm you crazy, man. Oh my goodness. And the CVs will also gonna harm you a lot. Your anti-defense numbers are okay, just okay. So yeah, they will harm you a lot. Trust me in that. So it's nothing like the even Bourgogne that you can compare it with, especially with the reload booster. It does not have that. So yeah, for me, Republic is fine. It's a strong ship. Sometimes can you make it work more? Yes, you can do that, but even then, I don't think so. It's worth it. And I cannot put it into very strong. That's my bias on that. And I will definitely gonna put it into the A tier. Strong, but does not come close to these ships. Okay, now we do have Italian battleships. Now we do have the R.Lauria, which is the steel battleship. And well, I would say it's straightforward, to be honest. It's I'm gonna put it into the very strong. It's a Italian Thunder. I would say kind of like that. Now, let me just show you the Lauria quickly in the port, and yes, it's pretty good, without a doubt. Let me just show you that. Okay, so here's the Lauria itself. Now, couple of things I have to mention once again. There are if scenarios that makes it either into a strong category, which is A tier, or very strong A plus, where I have put this battleship as of right now. The thing with the Lauria is, if you do have the Luigi Cincinnati, that's good. Now you do have the potential to make it very strong. Why? You get the reload time if you get the Confederate, very, very powerful. You get the range, which actually is not that good. Again, sort of a weakness, and again something that you might not be able to do it if you get 100 shell. It's difficult to do in Lauria because it will take a lot of time. But what really makes it very, very strong, okay, and how you can make it to be very strong if you play it in kiting. Again, there are ifs. If you are utilizing its armor, 120mm deck, and also this side plating, like this whole side plating in kiting, and not getting yourself exposing this plating, obviously your firing angles are really good. If you put your angle enough that the cruisers shooting here, you will shatter every single thing. Even I think even the Conqueror shells cannot penetrate this plating. That is kind of insane. This is the only battleship in World of Warship that has like pretty absurd like deck plating, and you do have quite a lot of that at the stern. Okay, and even the bigger advantage of the Lauria is that actually you can basically make carrier drop the bombs at you here. If he does not know and he's not dropping here, he's dropping there, you will shatter even the biggest of the HE bombs like FDR. So now that is a big advantage. Also the big advantage is that the R.Lauria does not have that big of a superstructure. Okay, so you can tank well in kiting, and if you are using this ridiculously powerful sap, I must say, there is a Colombo that exists, but as of right now, I don't know why they haven't nerfed the Colombo. I will talk about that. It's coming soon, don't worry. But the R.Lauria does have really good sap, 30mm overmatch with the sap on cruisers. Insane 16.6k alpha, and with the battle cruiser dispersion and 1.8 sigma, if you land 4 shells onto the deck of any cruiser that has 30mm plating, you will chunk them for 20,000 damage. Freaking 20,000 damage. You can also say that you can use the AP as well to overmatch the cruiser. Sure, you can do that, but I would say the sap is more valuable if the cruiser is trying to be kiting away and angled. Meanwhile, you angling and trying to kite away and farming this way is the playstyle of R.Lauria. If you can do that, and if you are not taking a citadel damage from this armor plating, like this is very thin armor plating, and also there is also big armor plating here, that is a citadel armor. If you are mitigating this, R.Lauria can be very powerful. It can be now easily up to the very strong. But if you are not utilizing these strengths, I can tell you it's just a strong battleship. Yes, the guns are really good, don't get me wrong, but you are not using the other gimmicks that are special. That's what makes special over the Thunder, for example. Okay, so I mean, it does not have the smokes. Again, that's a big downside, and that's one thing. If I would say, again, there's one thing. If R.Lauria does have smokes, the exhaust smokes that you find on Christopher or Colombo, R.Lauria can be simply a broken battleship. Because it does have so much disengaging capability that you love to have, like in the case of Colombo, but you can't. Okay, your anti-defense numbers are not good at all whatsoever. The CVs love to strike you, but you do have the torpedo protection, and you also can heal back those torpedoes if the CVs are trying to hit you, because now you heal back a lot after they have done some changes to the carriers. So that is a good thing. However, it's having pretty much the normal heals. It's not going for anything else. You do have the spotter plane. You can have the extra range, extra time with the help of this spotting mod, and you need that because your range is pitiful. Okay, if you do get like maybe 23-24 kilometer range on R.Lauria, that will make it super comfortable, but it does not. So you have to play a bit out of the comfort zone. You have to slightly push in and then kite. So it's kind of like sort of the cruiser in terms of the range. Okay, and then you do have the really good concealment and really good speed for it. Like 36.8 knots without the speed boost, I think it's the best base speed for a battleship in the game. So it's very good. However, the weakness is, again, if you mitigate the weaknesses of R.Lauria, you cannot make it overpowered. I can tell you still. You cannot make it as overpowered as the Colombo as of right now, but it gets from strong to very strong because you are not taking citadels. And even if you take citadels, they have given a 33% citadel damage heal that you find on Thunder. So it kind of takes some of the inspiration from Thunder in that regard. But the sap is just absolutely crazy. If you land so many shells onto the battleship superstructure or any side plating like this, you will just do massive amount of damage. Oh my goodness. And even citadel cruisers like the Minotaur with only the sap. And I mean, you do have the short fuse on AP. So like I would say the St.Vincent. And funny enough, the St.Vincent and R.Lauria does have the same armor penetration capability. Same. Basically the same ditto copy numbers, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, I hope that's the right thing that I'm saying. So you can just simply broadside cruiser, shoot the AP, and especially onto the light cruisers, and you will just smash him, death striking them with this AP. So it's a very powerful, very strong, very fast sort of a battleship, which if you are using the strengths, I can put it to the very strong. But if you are not using the strengths according to what Wargaming has given or intended this ship to do, then I don't think so it's a very strong. Otherwise, you're not playing it right, and you actually sometimes struggle, to be honest, in R.Lauria if you are not showing broadside and all. So it also sort of depends upon the player as well. How good of a player you are to make the R.Lauria work. And so in my experience, I have to say it's unique enough. It does have really good strengths, special strengths that I have to put it into the A+, very strong. Otherwise, for a normal player that kind of struggles to understand these, maybe I can put it here. But for me, R.Lauria seems to be very, very strong A+ tier ship. Okay, so the next battleship. Well, another battleship that I must say, I'm talking about C.Colombo, it's a D tier bad. I'm sorry guys, it's not good at all. It is so bad that I might need to maybe go it down to the D tier and maybe put it into the F tier. Oh, sorry, I get back to this tier. Oh, sorry, let me just get back to that. Yeah. I'm just trolling, guys. This ship is so broken. I don't understand this. If you go into the vows numbers, okay, check out the Cristoforo numbers. You will clearly say, you will literally clearly see the numbers shows, the win rate shows, everything shows that it is broken, it's powerful, it's having good win rate compared to many other battleships that I have listed here. But Wargaming have not nerfed it for a long time. Funny enough, the Colombo gets even more powerful, obviously because of the leg mod. Everyone should know that the Colombo leg mod makes it pretty cracked, which it already is very, very good. But now with that dispersion, I can guarantee you that I can't guarantee you in R.Lauria sometimes, because you do have only 8 shells. You do tend to do damage, but Colombo compared to R.Lauria is way more consistent, way more survivable because of the heal, and can just do so much damage. Broadside cruiser, you're throwing 16 shells with AP, dev strike. Shells are fast. You can switch to sap if any battleship or cruiser angling. If there's a Napoli with 40mm deck and side, if there's a Petro with that, you shoot sap, you just do crazy damage. Holy shit, it's so toxic to deal with that ship, man. Wisconsin is a toxic in one way, with survivability at really accurate guns. Colombo is also have the same thing like Wisconsin in a different way. You have now the heals, you do have the decent HP, you do have disgusting, absolutely cracked sap, and especially with that dispersion. And then you do have the survivability from the exhaust smoke. Get out of jail free card on a battleship, and now you're moving in smoke. Unless someone radars you, you just kite and turn out, and you can just load your DCP. If, for example, just give you an example. If the DCP is on cooldown in Colombo, okay, what you really do? You basically, smoke up. Your DCP is on cooldown. Your heal is also on the cooldown, so it's gonna take some time. You are using that smoke. It's gonna last for maybe 40 seconds, and you will just gonna get back up and ready with the DCP as well as with the heal. And then you are like, you just heal and have the DCP back. Like, it's really good. The survivability and the offensive capability, maybe even better than Wisconsin in many cases, makes Colombo probably the most toxic battleship in the game. Probably something that I hate. I hate more a good Wisconsin player. I hate more a good Colombo player than Wisconsin player. It can be so stupid, man. Sap guns are so ridiculous in this ship. So as you can see, the Colombo. And I was talking about the smokes. And by the way, it does have the spotting aircraft. Yes, R.Lauria does have it, but the Colombo does have exhaust smoke generator. And I was talking about the leg mod. By the way, here's the funny thing. Yamato with leg mod. Let me just show you Yamato quickly. So here it is. And why I'm talking about the Yamato? Because look at the leg mod. If I'm using the Yamato leg mod, well, you are not going to have any reload time buff, or at least any reload time gain from this leg mod. And so that's why you do have only 30 seconds of reload time. So you get no benefit from any sort of reload time. Funny enough, whereas in the case of Colombo, Wargaming still manages to give minus 6% main battery reload time and minus 6% main battery shell dispersion. Now, which leg mod is better? What the hell, Wargaming? What are you doing? Why are you trolling us, man? So, yeah. and 16 guns with 1.6 Sigma and smoke and pretty decent HP. 94,000 is pretty good. That's basically as close to the levels of Montana. So you heal pretty decent. And you do have really good armor. It's not bad at all. You don't have that problem where you're gonna be taking those full bomb pen damage, like in the case of Ohio and Montana from the airstrikes of the Dutch ships. So Colombo does have that. And then you can also smoke up and run away. And can smash him with sap. Holy crap. You can just do... I have done like 35k volleys on some battleships under some situations. I mean, it's really disgusting. Honestly, Colombo... Oh my goodness, it's the full powerhouse as of right now. If they don't nerf this ship, it's the free tech tree battleship. I mean, just simply get this ship, guys. This is the best ship right now in the game. And for free. You don't need to think of Wisconsin. Just get a Colombo. That's how good this ship is. And I mean, R.Lauria does have the speed, but I mean, Colombo does have the smoke. And yeah, even though sometimes you actually have that wonky shell dispersion from the R.Lauria, Colombo literally throws so many sap shells, sap shells, that Wargaming realizes that how toxic Colombo can be. And if they come up with the Italian battleship Affondatore, okay, if you don't know, they come up with a super battleship at tier 11 for the Colombo upgrade. They did not give sap shells. That tells alone how ridiculous Colombo actually is in this state. Like, they come up with the HE shells, kind of like the Sicilia, which I will talk right now. So Colombo next tier, super tier, does not have sap shells. That tells you a lot how bad the Colombo balanced really are right now. Oh my goodness. Okay, so the next ship is going to be Sicilia. By the way, it's a Research Bureau battleship, and unfortunately, I must say Sicilia, they kind of make it a sap with smoke brawling sort of battleship. They try to make kind of like the Italian secondary battleship, but they kind of failed in it. Honestly, Sicilia is a weird ship right now. And if you really ask me, for me, the Sicilia will gonna work into the strong ship. No. Honestly, if you... I can literally tell you one thing. You pick Sicilia, okay, and then you pick Sibir. You will always and absolutely always pick Sibir first. You will absolutely gonna pick Sibir over Sicilia. Yes, even though it does have the smoke, that I was really appreciating that Colombo also have, and it kind of gives so much survivability. Sicilia have it, but the gimmick itself is so plain, and it's so unworthy in this battleship, and is so unrewarding in this battleship, I would say, that Sicilia kind of feels sad in this state, even though it does have 16 guns. 1.6 Sigma, very good angling. I mean, you can just aim with a very, very tight angling, and you can just shoot all the 16 guns. Sure, that you can do also the same with the Colombo. Let me just show you quickly first. So I was talking about the Sicilia. You can see it in there in the port. And the sap does not have that volume. Problem is, you don't set fires with sap, okay? And then you don't have the volume so much to throw, like I would say the Schlieffen. The reload time is okay. 5.1 and 8.6 seconds is just okay. And it struggles to deal, I would say, consistent damage to the other battleships. Sure, you can do that on cruisers, but they can angle enough, and some of the sap shell will bounce regardless. And even though you do have that secondaries, the range is not okay. And yes, you do have actually the good part of the Sicilia. That's the good part, that you do have a better reload time than Colombo itself. Which means what I have done really with the Sicilia, that I'm using the aiming system mod one. Yeah, that's how bad the secondaries are. I'm not gonna lie. The gimmick is actually not rewarding. It's okay. It can be nice. You're shooting sap while smoking up. Sure, it does have 60 seconds of action time. Gives a lot of survivability, without a doubt. But it's not working. For me, it just does not work. I like the AP DPM more. I would like to see a bit of a better Mecklenburg version of Sicilia with 381mm guns. That's what I have felt, kinda, with having the Italian version of smokes and all that. Also the same problem with the range, as with every battleship. But Sicilia feels a bit sad, honestly. It's not interesting. No, it's not rewarding with SAP. I mean, I can play Sibir, I can play Libertad, I can play many other secondary battleships that are defining in terms of the meta every day, all day compared to the Sicilia. The guns, the AP can work really well, but then you pick Colombo and you will realize that the Colombo does better because of the better dispersion with the leg mod. So yeah, I mean, it's sort of pointless right now, honestly, guys. Sicilia is sort of a pointless ship unless they buff it in a very interesting way. Unless they buff it, I just don't see it valuable. Yes, you do have some immunity against CVs and having a very long 60 seconds of smoke. Again, the same thing, you have the DCP or the heal on cooldown time. And here's the thing, unlike Sibir or Libertad, you have the same problem like you find on GK. The staying power is not enough. You do have the armor, you do have the Italian armor that you can say, quote unquote, but the heal is 77 seconds cooldown time. So yeah, heal takes a lot of time to come back. So staying power is not there if you're it's not there if you're pushing. Yes, you do have really amazing firing angles, but still, I'm not satisfied with Sicilia. It's not a bad battleship. It's actually a good battleship, but I build it for the main battery guns. Then I make it work. Yeah, it's funny, but yeah, that's how I'm doing this. And that's why Sicilia is sort of okay here. It's a strong ship, don't get me wrong about that, but compared to what you look at Bungo, Louisiana, or any other battleship above, it's not giving that unique feeling. Maybe if they have come up with the F key, and then you do have the, I would say, you know what ship that we do have gotten? You know, the experimental ship that has like tons of sap coming out of the cruiser ship hull. If it does have sort of that gimmick onto the Sicilia, yeah, honestly, if the Sicilia have the gimmick of that ship, Varese, yeah, I just now remember the name. If you have that gimmick of Varese built onto the Sicilia, oh my goodness, that would be very interesting, I must say. Sicilia would actually makes a lot more sense with this, with the Varese sort of sap, with the getting more range by you taking more damage or anything. But no, it's not like that, so it's not that good enough to be very strong, or not even close to be broken like Colombo. Alright, so the next battleship, basically a new battleship, just released I think couple of, I would say, updates ago, and that is the Willem De Eerste. And I'm sorry if I have badly pronunciated that thing, but what I can say for sure about this battleship, that it has to be A+T. Very strong battleship. Even I'm not a fan of this armor, but it's the same case with the R.Lauria. You on a broadside sucks way much. It's a Duncan hull. It's a tier 9 Duncan hull. You find on a tier 9, you know, a British battle cruiser line, Duncan, which is the tier 9 of St.Vincent. So yeah, the armor is not good. Let me just show you quickly in the port. So there it is. It's the only battleship for Dutch, so that is something pretty unique. You can apply Conrad Helfrich, which is pretty absurd. Now, Willem De Eerste, let's talk about the weaknesses first before coming up to strengths. Armor, now, you actually struggles more than Conquerors or Thunderers. Way more than, I would say, even Thunder. You don't have any special heal. Pretty much normal 80 seconds of cooldown time. I'm just reducing the cooldown time with the help of captain skills, or I would say the flag. So that's where it's not good. 100%. It's actually pretty average. However, what it's not really average from the guns point of view, and also from the only battleship in the game right now to have HE bomb airstrike. These, by the way, you find on the Prinz Van Oranje, which I'm sure you can get it from the Santa containers, but if you want to get the feel of how those bombs work and how those bombs are pretty much devastating against Americans, and even the Sibir, by the way, Sibir is included in that ship, kinda really rivals to that of Sibir, because you actually pen 40mm deck of Petro, Napoli, and also the Sibir. So yeah, this is very potent. And when I'm saying it's very potent, go in the training room, pick the Willem De Eerste if you have one, and try to drop onto the, if you aim perfectly onto the ship that has like 32mm plating, 38mm plating, 40mm plating, you just do absolutely crazy amount of damage. You can do like a full battleship of Conqueror salvo level damage. And on top of that, you do have 2.1 Sigma with 9 of these guns, which is pretty accurate for these guns, I must say. Sometimes trollish, most of the time accurate, especially at least compared to the Conqueror. And then you do still have, for some reason, 47% fire chance. Again, reminds me of Conqueror. And also the Alpha, that is not bad, of 6.1k. That is really good. Very potent HE shells. Okay, and also one more thing that is potent. Unlike Conqueror and Thunder, for some reason, even though it does have only 419mm guns, these guns perform like 457mm guns in terms of penetration. It retained penetration like Shikishima. Shikishima like penetration, almost closer to those numbers at long ranges. And I'm telling you, when you can citadel battleships pretty much at many ranges, even at 20 kilometers, I'm gonna say more than 20km range is the range where Slava will do citadel damage. But Willem De Eerste will do citadel damage 20 or under 20 kilometers very comfortably. It's so good in that. And then the Sigma is really good. HE shells, if you want to switch to HE shells, the DPM of HE shells good. 24.6 seconds of reload time. Bourgogne power craft. Speed boost. 5 heals. Airstrikes. Yeah, like why, I don't know why you want to pick Bourgogne. Just think of picking Willem De Eerste. The newest battleship that Wargaming has added, unfortunately, has powercraft the Bourgogne. It's a Dutch Bourgogne, I must say. Yes, the only thing that the Bourgogne has going right now is the reload booster. And it does not even have that overmatch of, I would say, 27mm plating that Willem De Eerste at least have. And then it does have absurd penetration for these guns, for these 490mm guns. Really good guns. Honestly, amazing. This, combined with the fact that it does, the only battleship in the game that has 15km range, not only with the airstrikes, but also with the depth charge as well, or I would say ASW attacks on submarines. So if you find the submarine at around 14km, you can actually switch it to this and you can just drop these depth charges. So yeah, that's funny. But that is pretty good. But on the other hand, you do have significantly higher reload time of 81 seconds. But considering, and also you have to really either utilizing those I would say consumable, or I would say the charge you get. Either you have to use that charge that you have basically reloaded in 81 seconds. You either use it on this or on this. And I would say, in my opinion, most of the time submarines will not gonna be that of a problem. Most of the times, especially in the ranked battles where there are less submarine games, you will have more powerful, potent, very potent HE strike. I mean, I have literally done stupid damage to the Sibir, which is kind of crazy. I mean, I can give you the video of the Willem De Eerste soon. It's really good. The guns are amazing. You have the concealment that is amazing. Again, better than Conqueror and Thunder for some reason. 12.2 kilometers, like 0.1, but still makes a difference, right? It's still better than Conqueror and Thunder, technically. Do have the speed, 33.6 knots, and then you do have the engine boost. You can have 39 knots of speed with the help of Brisk, so you can be very good, very fast as well. And then you can just have these airstrikes. Man, oh man, these airstrikes are, they just, if you, I'm telling you, if you really able to learn these airstrikes on the Willem De Eerste, I can sometimes make it maybe onto the broken category. Honestly, if you perfectly learn, if you're really precisely able to learn when the battleship is going to kite away, and then you just precisely aim these airstrikes, if you're landing perfect, I mean, this is the best case scenario. Maybe then I can put it even into the broken, considering how good the guns are, and how you can play it in kiting like Bourgogne, or maybe the Mecklenburg, or maybe all the ships that I have set like the R.Lauria. Yes, it does not have really good pushing power. Armor is weak, but man, it's amazing in gun department. And have many other things going for it. like the penetration numbers, the HE shells, fire chance, and the airstrikes. So Wargaming somehow managed to make, again, a battleship that has speed boost, again meta defining, the guns that have really good pen even though it's lacking the overmatch, but penetration is still amazing, and come up with a airstrike on a battleship that makes it unique enough and strong enough at the same time that I have to say it's a A+ tier ship, very, very strong ship indeed. Okay, so the next battleship, we do have only last two remaining, so let's see what we can do about it. So Irresistible, a research bureau battleship. I'm gonna put it into again, there is a if, and again, it's a toxic battleship. It's kind of like having the best of the battleship thing, but having cruiser guns and a lot of them going for it, like 16 of them. I'm gonna put it into the very strong, but it can't be all the time very strong. Not gonna lie, especially when you want to push. Even Willem De Eerste will do better. And if you're just caught in a very bad spot, yes, you do have the smoke and all that stuff, and you do have like really good guns going for it, like a lot of guns with cruiser levels of DPM in a battleship hull, 32mm plating bow and stern. It can sometimes be rough, considering it does have a huge citadel, way more vulnerable citadel than even Willem De Eerste. Okay, let me just explain you by showing you in the board. Okay, so here it is, the Irresistible. The thing about the Irresistible really is that it's a really, really powerful AP and even HE platform. The AP actually smashes cruisers. You look at the AP DPM, bro, 500k AP DPM with these guns. And you do have battle cruiser dispersion with I think 1.8 sigma. I don't remember the sigma value, but it does have battle cruiser dispersion. And since you are throwing so many shells, you still will be very consistent with 16 guns. Only 234mm. Here's the good part. If you put yourself in kiting, any battleship will struggle. The problem is the Irresistible does not have the gimmicks that you find in terms of the healing, like I would say maybe the Wisconsin, maybe the Colombo does also have the smoke. It also have the smoke, by the way. It comes with the nation flavor of crawling smoke, which you find on the Haida, on the Vampire 2. You know, you do also have this thing. Problem is, you have to stay in 1/4 of the speed to make it work. If you just accelerate slightly up, and if someone spots you in a destroyer, and you shoot the guns, your main battery firing smoke penalty can be pretty devastating if you are looking to turn out. So it's kind of like a worse version, in a way that if you put yourself in a crossfire and you smoke up to disengage and you want to turn out, it will take a lot of time to turn out. Meanwhile, in the case of Colombo, you can just simply quickly turn out because the smoke moves along with you at any speed. It has to rely on 1/4 of the speed. So this is a problem. Yes, you do have the disengaging power, and you need that thing. Honestly, you look at the armor, man. Holy shit! Oh my goodness! This whole thing is a citadel. My God! Any battleship like the Bungo, for example, any battleship like Wisconsin, 100% dev strike you, bro. 100%, full HP gone. 80,000 looks good for a cruiser, instantly vaporized. And you need that heal. If you know what you're doing, if you don't take citadel damage, again, there are so many ifs to make it very strong. And if you stay in kiting and farm, and especially you need a destroyer player, there is a bit of a reliance needed. Yes, you do need reliance on any other battleship as well, but Irresistible kind of needs a bit more, because if, for example, just like I said before, an enemy destroyer spots you in your smoke, it will be very difficult. You do not have survivability. I'm telling you, it takes a lot of damage. You need that smoke to disengage. If you are not utilizing it, if you are not utilizing your survivability that you do have not a lot, especially that if you show broadside, you're gonna get smashed, and especially you're gonna get farmed very quickly. You do not have super heal or anything. Marlborough hull, by the way, this is all British tier 9 Marlborough levels of hull at tier 10. It's not impressive in any way whatsoever. Yes, you do have this resistance to be overmatched by 457s. Sure, that's good thing. for having cruiser guns at the same time, and you can be pretty toxic by setting fires by even just shooting a single salvo. If you land like 10-12 shells, very high chance to set fires for sure. It is disgustingly good damage farmer. But if you cannot able to utilize the smoke and not turn out and run away when you need that, you will die very quickly, and then you will realize, oh, it's not that good at all. This guy actually had make a bad sort of view on the Irresistible. Why he managed to make it to the very strong tier if it's not survivability? Because you are not making it manage. You're not managing its gimmick. You're not able to realize where to push, where to kite. If you don't understand it, this can easily go to even the average. But the moment you know what you're doing and utilize the strengths, it can easily go to the very strong. There's no doubt about that. So at least in my opinion, if there's a tier A plus and between A tier, I can put it there. It's not exactly in this realm. I know it's very good, don't get me wrong about that, but even then, slight itch I do still have slight itch, because it's a cruiser guns. You will do raw damage. Mecklenburg, Rhode Island does also the same thing, but it does have some other gimmicks, I would say sort of better than Irresistible. And I mean, then there's a Colombo that has also the smoke, so it's still good and can be very strong, but totally up to the player. Just like the Slava, I can put it into the A tier or A plus tier, depending upon how the player or the enemy team also performs, if you are utilizing this battleship. So that's what it is. Alright, so the last battleship, that is Libertad. I think, in my opinion, it's the king of secondaries. There is no doubt about that. Libertad, in my personal opinion, has to be almost broken. Almost. A good Libertad player can still make it broken if you know how to utilize the islands when you are pushing. The problem with the Libertad is, I have seen many players, they think it's broken with secondaries. Aha, I'm just gonna use my secondaries and kill him. Instead, he get focused down super hard with couple of cruisers, a destroyer, and a battleship kiting, running away from the Libertad, and he just dies a fury death. Something that if you look at the Libertad and say, it's not broken, what the hell are you saying? Like, bro, you gotta really check out your tier list. It's not good at all. How you are putting the Libertad S tier? The thing is, you're not playing it correctly. How can I make you play Libertad well if you're not utilizing the islands, the way to push, the timing to do well in this ship? If you don't do that, then Libertad will suck, and especially they have nerfed the acceleration. Now it's not going to be having like the ooga booga sort of acceleration that you find on maybe I would say the Vermont. It does not have that. Vermont has like improved acceleration parameter. I think that Libertad still have acceleration parameter, but the problem is it does not retain fast speed if you are turning here and there. You will deaccelerate. It used to be having like, you just speed up like the Bugatti. which is funny, and you do have so many gimmicks on top of that, making it very utterly clear broken. But after this change of the speed acceleration, not the speed but the acceleration, and also one more thing, that if you don't have that captain Joaquim Marquez Lisboa, having not that captain kind of makes it to be very strong. A plus 100%, I must say. It's a very strong ship without Joaquim Marquez Lisboa, which is the legendary captain, which basically improves the reload time, the secondary, and also the speed, and also the time to get the F key very quickly, because you get the 20% increase in F key if you get the F key 2 times. So those extra things, if you do get from the Joaquim Marquez Lisboa, you can easily put it into the S tier. Easily, depending upon you playing this ship. If you are a mediocre player and you're just thinking pushing into a couple of ships will work this ship, no, it's not gonna work. If Libertad manages to make enemy ship push into you, if you're able to close that distance around 7 to 10 kilometer, if it's around there, you do have enough speed and you will just gonna farm him to death. Unless maybe there's a Colombo that just smokes up. If there's a Wisconsin, it use the F key. Rhode Island will heal up fast. Sibir does have like time-based heal. Maybe the Ohio also have that cooldown. Yeah, if you are fighting with these battleships, it can be tough. But the secondaries are literally like cruisers. You literally have the Goliath, which is the British tier 10 heavy cruiser strapped on two sides. because the HE shells and the damage and the fire chance is kind of like that. Battleship guns, 12 of them, having two cruisers strapped on each other in Libertad. And if you push island to island and you find the situation 1 versus 1, you will be an absolute clear winner. No Petro, no Des Moines, no one can take him down. 1 versus 1. It's really, really insane. And let me just give you a couple of more things to just mention in the port. Okay, there's the Libertad. And I was talking about the Joker Masculine. Look at this talent. Main battery load time, secondary battery load time, minus 22.5%. You will, every single game, activate this talent. Now, that makes it very strong to broken, because your reload time will be so good. And they have never touched that reload time. The reload time of the Libertad still is so insane. You do have really good speed. 31.5 knots. With the brisk, you can get to around 34 knots almost. You have improved speed in brisk, so it's very valuable perk. And so, and then you do have the ship speed increase as well, with the help of 2 times combat instruction activated. And then you have the F key as well. Like, for example, in Libertad, many times you can do is, if there is a cruiser kiting away, somehow a cruiser can definitely run out of your secondary range, okay? But what can really happen, and Libertad can kind of do that, get over here. It's kind of like that. Why? Because if the cruiser runs out of the Libertad secondary, that gimmick will not gonna work. And then the Libertad absurdly huge advantage that it has with the insane pen of these guns, 234 millimeter guns, 59 millimeter HE pen with 24% fire chance will not gonna be working for you. So Wargaming had decided to give the F key, which not only gives the secondary battery firing range for plus 20%. So I was talking about the get over here. Yeah, that's what exactly gonna happen. Anything gets out of your range, you still retains that secondaries on him for, I would say, 30 seconds. And then on top of that, you have the secondary damage and the secondary battery load time for that. Like, it's gonna be, you basically press the nitrous oxide in a car like Libertad. Like, this is the nitrous oxide. If you put that thing up, F key running onto a ship that is trying to run away, this will be so handy, and you don't find it on any secondary battleship in the game. And I was talking about the problems with the Kurfurst not having the heals that just have a good cooldown time. In the case of Libertad, this is 55 seconds of cooldown time. 55 seconds of cooldown time. Now that is way better. And you do also have still decent HP at 90,000 almost. So that's not bad. It's not like the Kurfurst 108,000, but it's not bad in any way. You do have the heals, they have a fast cooldown time, your secondaries absolutely rage. They just do so disgusting damage. No one can beat Libertad secondaries as of right now. They do full pen damage, and on top of that they do set fires with 24% fire chance. Literally 2 cruisers strapped on each side on Libertad. Like, literally these guns are really powerful. And talking about the survivability, it's also really good. For some reason, unlike Schlieffen, again, I have to really compare it with Schlieffen, and you can compare it more with GK, or I would say the Preussen, that it also tend to not get Citadel. Why? For some reason, Wargaming has given a, let me show you here. Give me a second. So you do have the space armor. You have the torpedo protection 51mm. It takes, or I would say it soaks so much penetration damage, and afterwards then you do have the Citadel armor belt, which is 406mm. This thing makes it resistant. The spaced armor makes it resistant to be get Citadel. Funny enough, that's how powerful secondary based battleship Libertad really is. You will be you can really compare it with, I would say, the Bourgogne. Bourgogne or Republic also tend to get Citadel at close ranges. Libertad also tend to get, but if we flat broadside, otherwise you don't. Honestly, you don't. And then you do have the good thing about the Libertad once again, is if you have to play it in kiting. If you do not find any situation where you can utilize your secondaries, which you should kite. You do not play like a dumb player pushing and just dying. Instead, you just utilize your 1.7 Sigma with 12 guns, with having decent penetration. You can really compare it with the Montana guns. These are really good Montana guns, but having less alpha. So 11.7k alpha, because they know that if they give really good alpha at around 13k with these guns, then it's also a good battleship platform, even at long ranges, if they really make the guns also powerful with the increased alpha. But even then, look at the reload time. 290k AP alpha is not bad at all. In fact, it's pretty good for a secondary battleship with 1.7 Sigma. It's OMG levels of powerful if you know how to push, and because of that, and even after the nerfs, if you have the Joko and Marculus Boa, and with the heals on cooldown time like this, and with the F key, the Libertad is broken. And by the way, it has 51mm deck armor and side armor. It's very resistant to many of the cruiser shells as well. So that is really good. And you have 20 seconds of DCB, which again you find it on Americans. So pretty good things, right? Makes it, with the captain especially, S tier if you know what you're doing. Thank you guys for watching. I hope I've taken a big long ass time. I hope I just did not miss out anything. Let me just see first. Okay, so I have checked it. Yes, I have taken some time. It's time for you guys to comment me down below. What do you think about the tier list? Here, what I can do, I can give you answer directly in the comment section, or you can always join my Discord. The link is in the description below. You can go and check out the chapters as well. You will eventually see a lot of value in this. I have really taken our time. I have given you quite some detailed explanation why I think it's good in one way or the other, and why I think it's in this category of tiers. This is what I believe is the meta going on for battleships. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Everyone is welcome. Everyone is welcome to criticize. I will be happy to respond and probably maybe accept my mistake I have, because I'm a human. I can do mistakes. You can always let me know in the comment. Take care, guys, and I have done, or at least try to do, the justice to this tier list. Peace out.